Hello everyone, this is What If Fanfic and today I'll bring you What If Naruto Worships the Log final part. The link to the story will be in the description. If you want to hear a fanfiction please comment down below, now on to the story.
Haha, I really had a laugh when my program insisted on changing Kiba to Kibble. Naruto, along with several other academy students, stood outside the ring, waiting for their turn at the first monthly fighting tournament. While there were written and oral tests, which Sakura always came first in, Hinata closely following, the fighting tournament was where the excitement really lay. "Alright kids," Mizuki shouted over the chatter, "first match will be." Iruka pulled two names out of a bowl, before shouting Kiba and Kuji. "Okay then, you're allowed to use anything, just nothing permanently crippling," Mizuki said as the two kids walked into the ring. "Other than that, begin." "Baika no Jutsu," Kuji shouted, expanding into a huge human ball. "Shikyaku no Jutsu," Kiba shouted, getting on all fours. Wisps of loose chakra could be seen as his claws grew and he became more feral. The Inuzuka rolled away from the large hand, which slammed into the spot he had just vacated. He decided to not waste time, shouting, "Suga." His drilling form ran right into the large student, who could feel several harsh scratches, cuts and bruises as he was pummeled, sent flying out of the ring, thus giving victory to the Inuzuka. "Kiba wins," Mizuki said to a round of small cheers. Next up, Hinata and Sakura. Iruka finished. There was really no need to go into details. The Hyuga princess could have killed the pink-haired fangirl with just one strike, instead deciding to just knock her off her feet and throw her out of the ring. "Hinata wins," Mizuki shouted, "now." Naruto and Shino. Naruto entered the ring, facing his opponent who calmly assessed him. Shino didn't know much about his opponent. They had been to the academy together for 2 weeks now but not much had been displayed of his fighting style except his control over wood. "Begin." Naruto instantly sent 2 chunks of wood flying at the bug user, who systematically dodged with minimal movement. He began to send his bugs out to the boy, who was making hand seals. Raiten, Shuriken Rebufuwu. Lightning release, Shuriken Lightning Storm. Naruto pulled out a shuriken, throwing it at the incoming cloud of black insects. The Kikaiku made way for the shuriken, but as soon as it came close, tiny strands of lightning slammed into each bug, a good 3/4 of them falling to the floor as they were hit. "Don't worry Shino, they're just stunned for a bit. I didn't fully charge it with chakra," Naruto said, before rushing to his opponent. After a quick bout of taijutsu, he managed to catch Shino with his Makuten. "Kibendo no Jutsu, would release, tree bind technique," said bug user finding himself squashed in a rapidly growing tree. "Victory goes to Naruto," Mizuki shouted to a round of trees. "Now could you please release him?" Naruto made another hand sign, the tree being reabsorbed by the ground. At the same time, Shino's fallen bugs got up, returning to their home. "Thank you for not decimating my horde." "Ah, think nothing of it," Naruto replied. "Ooh look, Ino's against Sasuke." Ino quickly forfeit, knowing she was no match for the Uchiha genius, leaving him with victory and Shikamaru to quickly win against some unimportant other Genin, who would ultimately fail the year and thus does not deserve a name. The next round began, Iruka sporting a much lighter bowl this time. Hinata and Kiba. Kiba once again activated his 4 legs technique, rushing at his opponent. Hinata activated her Byakugan, pirouetting to the side from the vicious attack. She narrowly missed a claw, jumping over a spinning kick. She sidestepped an axe kick, surgically injecting chakra into several tenketsu there. The two fighters sprang away from each other. Kiba rushed at her again, a visible limp in his left leg. A few more tenketsu strikes later and Kiba had to be dragged out of the ring, humiliated at being beaten by a girl, and having his legs not obey him. Iruka called the match in her favor. Next, Shikamaru and Shino. "Troublesome," Shikamaru muttered, entering the ring. The match began, and Shino found himself quickly trapped in a shadow jutsu. "Kage main no jutsu, success," Shikamaru said smirking slightly. However, Shino's bugs, independent of his jutsu, just flowed towards him, causing the Nara boy to run, the bug user following his footsteps. Shino found himself running towards one edge of the ring, while his opponent was closer to the middle, and with one final step, he was pushed out, and thus disqualified. His bugs returned to him. "Victory to Shikamaru," Mizuki said, before calling the next match. Kuji and Naruto. Kuji attacked the blonde, who gracefully assumed the whipping willow style. With the Akimaikus raw strength, he knew the Tokuken would be less effective. Kuji aimed a sluggish but well-aimed punch at his opponent's head, who bent his back low. Naruto merged his dodge into a handstand, bringing his legs up against the plump boy's chest, sending his opponent back a couple of feet. Naruto jumped again after landing, aiming a dropping heel kick at the boy's shoulder. However, Kuji managed to sidestep it, slamming a palm out to intercept the blonde. Naruto twisted unnaturally in mid-air, just avoiding the palm. He was already doing hand seals as he landed. Doten, Yoki Danmaki. Earth release, Earth barrage. The earth in front of Naruto rumbled a bit, groaning as Naruto slammed his palm into the floor. Golf ball-sized chunks of earth barraged the Akimichi, who could only shield his face with his arms as he was attacked. He was pushed back several meters, ultimately falling outside the ring. Victory to Naruto. Great match, Naruto said enthusiastically to the Akimichi, going to help him get up. The Akimichi took the outstretched hand, chuckling awkwardly. Sasuke gets a bye for this round, Iruka said, refilling the bowl with the remaining contestants. Naruto and Shikamaru. Mizuki announced. The two boys squared off, attacking each other. Naruto jumped over the shadow which wiggled towards him, making a Moku Bunshine as he did so. The Bunshine allowed itself to get caught in the shadow, and using the 60% of his original strength, resisted the will to move his legs. Meanwhile the real Naruto made a quick torch out of wood. Some thought he would light it with the Katen Jutsu, but Naruto almost puked at the mere thought of it. Instead he used one of the many survival camping jutsu to make a bright, shining light. The camping jutsu which Yamato had shown him were small things which just made a ninja's day easier, ranging from condensing water for drinking to making a wooden hut. This jutsu was supposed to cast a soft glow, but instead Naruto flooded it with chakra, making an almost blinding light. Shikamaru knew his shadow jutsu would be useless now, and to avoid a needless pummeling, he forfeited. Hinata and Sasuke. The two academy students entered the ring, facing each other. You have no hope to win, Sasuke began, as I am an Uchiha, our blood as he was shut up by a Tenketsu strike to the shoulder, having not even noticed the match began. Stop whining and fight already, Uchiha team, Naruto shouted. He would have retaliated, but a Tenketsu strike to the other shoulder cut him off. He growled slightly. Turning to his opponent, Sasuke found that she already had her Byakugan active and was rushing towards him. He ducked a jab to his head, sidestepped one to his leg and dodged one to his stomach, but was caught off guard by the kick which slammed into his cheek. Since when do Hyuga's kick? Raiten, Hiratageki. Lightning release, palm shock. The girl's palm was instantly surrounded by crackling energy, and she rushed again to attack the Uchiha. He was nearly hit by the Tenketsu strike with her left hand, but dodged, only to have the electric palm slam into his stomach, sending him flying out of the ring, spasming slightly. Hinata wins. Mizuki announced as Sasuke was flocked by fangirls. I can't believe I lost, to a girl, and a Hyuga no less. Sasuke growled inwardly. This, of course, left Hinata and Naruto to fight against each other. Some may have expected them to be too shy to fight each other, but they faced each other and were soon in a familiar routine of strike, counter-strike, parry and dodges. After a heated 5 minutes taijutsu battle, the two 11-year-olds jumped back, simultaneously forming hand seals. Half a minute later, the two of them were still performing hand seals. Iruka's eyes widened as he saw the last sequence. Everyone scatter, he shouted. All the children ran as far away from the ring without losing sight of the fight. Suten, Suryudan. Water release, water dragon bullet technique, Raiten, Raitama. Lightning release, lightning ball. In the face of Naruto's 20 feet tall water dragon, the small, lightning ball seemed negligible. The water dragon began to move towards its target, while the ball moved to said dragon. The ball began to expand as it moved, the yellow lightning becoming a stormy blue, until it was as large as the dragon's head. Everyone thought it still wouldn't be enough. Raitama, Katsu. The ball of electricity exploded, scattering the water dragon into pieces, sending electrically charged water everywhere. It wasn't far enough to reach the spectators, but Iruka watched in horror as the water fell on the two combatants, who had both put up earth shields. The two combatants allowed their shields to dissolve in the ground, running towards each other. Hinata jumped over Naruto's opening sweep kick, jabbing at his chest. Her attack was dodged, and she found herself sidestepping Naruto's punch. She knew that, had Naruto used his Makuten techniques, she would have lost eons ago, but Naruto was too nice, right? Makuten, Moku Wanasato. Would release, would trap activate. Hinata looked down in horror, finding that she had indeed stepped on the small, palm-sized piece of wood required for the technique. It quickly grew, twining around her body like vines, holding her in a stiff embrace. It took Iruka a moment to realize that the match was over before he walked up to them. Alright, Naruto wins. Good job, everyone go inside. Wait, Naruto, could you? Iruka asked, vaguely pointing at the wet, pockmarked, burnt, uneven ground thanks to the 11-year-old's displays. Oh sure, Naruto said cheerily. He held his hands in the snake seal, brown furrowing for a second. The mud smoothed over, grass regrowing till the training ground was back to its normal form. Don't you need some sort of jutsu for that? Iruka asked incredulously. What type of ninja would be stupid enough to make a jutsu for smoothing out some mud? That was just earth manipulation. Earth manipulation? Iruka thought dully, looking at the flawlessly smooth floor with fresh, even grass, like a nobleman's. His head wryly, the scarred man walked into the class, where he wished all the children would be obediently sitting on their desks. Which they were, thanks to Mizuki. Okay children, I have observed lots of things from the fights, the first being that Shikamaru, Sakura and Ino will stay after school every day for remedial taijutsu where you will learn the academy style. But, Ino began. No buts. The rest of the children have at least taijutsu on par, so they do not need to learn it, but you must, Iruka said finally. For this month, the top is Uzumaki Naruto, second is Hyuga Hinata, third is Uchiha Sasuke, fourth is Nara Shikamaru. Troublesome, Shikamaru thought lightly, glancing at the glare which Sasuke was generously giving to Naruto. As usual, Naruto's shadow clones popped one by one, giving him their information. His head usually spun for a while, but after 5 minutes meditation, he was able to sort out the information, before making 400 more clones to go back to training. He usually trained himself after school, or helped Hanabi with her training, but today he had to do something different. With that thought in mind, he picked up Hanabi, before setting off towards the Uchiha compound. Sasuke was pissed. Really pissed. Not that anyone cared, they were too busy laughing at his Haruno pink hair and ballerina tutu, even the fangirls were giggling madly. Of course, he had no idea why they were laughing. I love genjutsu. Naruto thought, smirking at the Uchiha. This is his fault. The Uchiha thought, growling slightly. He was about to confront the evildoer, when the teacher walked in. Iruka walked in, not batting an eyelid at Sasuke's odd outfit. He began to call the register. Inuzuka Kiba. Here. Haruno Sasuke. He what? Sasuke shrieked slightly. Ms. Haruno, Iruka scolded. Please be silent while I call the register. You could practically see the fumes as Sasuke sat back down angrily. Actually, thanks to another quick genjutsu, you could see the fumes. Smelled like roses, too. The register went on, before Iruka put the book down, pulling out a chalk. Today we will be learning about binomial theorem. Groans reverberated throughout the class. Open your books to page 57. Everyone did so, expecting to find mind-boggling lists of A's, B's, N's and X's. Instead, they found themselves staring at very graphical pictures of Sasuke participating in less than approving actions with large, hairy men. Shrieks reverberated through the room, though many fangirls fainted, blood running from their noses. Sasuke moaned slightly, causing the whole room to stare at him. I mean, Sasuke shouted loudly, throwing the book away. You, homo. Kiba, the ever homophobic shrieked. Just then, another Iruka slammed into the classroom, sweaty and quite vexed. Naruto. He growled menacingly, the other Iruka gulping slightly. With a puff of smoke, it disappeared. The remaining teacher turned to find the perpetrator, but found that Naruto's desk was already empty. He sighed angrily, before disabling the genjutsu on Sasuke, and the genjutsu on everyone's books. Okay class, since you all failed to recognize such simple genjutsus, we will be learning genjutsu today, and there will be a test on it on Thursday. The class moaned, and the same thing was on their minds. Damn you Naruto. The year passed quickly, Naruto always coming first in the fighting, while Hinata always came first, beating even Sakura, in the knowledge. Before he knew it, the graduation day had come. Ooh holy law og. Naruto chanted the mantra, meditating in the school playground, upside down on a branch. It was 6 a.m., but Naruto decided that, best really early that really late. Besides, he could pray to the log. Oh savior. 2 hours later, but still 1 hour early, Hinata arrived, carrying a scroll with her. They greeted each other, before Naruto asked, "What's in the scroll, Hinata-chan?" Hinata sent a pulse of chakra into the scroll, where it said heat seal, and with a popping sound, 11 heavenly bowls of ramen appeared. Naruto took 10, eating fast, but not in a disgusting manner. Hinata ate her one bowl silently, looking at her friend. She wondered a bit, imagining a future where she would marry Naruto. Little blonde-haired children, with lavender streaks and large, pale eyes. She snorted, giggling as she imagined it. Like she would ever go out with Naruto, she saw him as more of a brother, it would almost feel incestuous. Naruto sent her a questioning glance, before shrugging, women. So, Naruto, do you remember the 7 upper body critical areas? Yes, the brain, the solar plexus. They reviewed material with each other for another hour, testing each other and doing some last-minute studies, even though neither needed it. As more children began to arrive, they abandoned their studies and greeted their friends, which was nearly everyone, except Sasuke and his merry band of fangirls. Before they knew it, they were sitting in a class, test papers in front of them. Start, Mizuki shouted, activating a timer. Let's see, thought Naruto. Ninja A is 30 meters away from Ninja B, who is on a cliff, 10 meters above the ground. The wind blows towards the south at 3 miles per hour. At what angle should Ninja A throw a kunai of 3 kilograms to hit Ninja B? Easy. Naruto quickly solved the questions, sure he would do good. He had once thought that, maybe he should fail on purpose or something, but Hinata had quickly talked him out of that. Flashback Hinata-chan, I might hide my skills, Naruto said, eating his sandwich. Hinata swallowed her bite, replying. Oh? And what would such a thing pertain to? Well, I'd fail, or get just the pass mark on purpose I guess, and maybe I'd lose on taijutsu more often. Are you retarded? No, Naruto said defensively. The core of being a ninja is deception and stealth. Does that involve deceiving your comrades? She asked, slightly sarcastic. Well. Besides, are you willing to let Sasu team beat you up? No. Then it's settled. No failing, Hinata said, taking another bite. End flashback. Naruto sat back, rereading his paper, before putting it down and chewing his pencil. He looked around, finding Sakura staring ahead with a smug smile, Sasuke just about finishing, and Hinata relaxing. The test quickly finished and the children were led outside to a sparring ring. Now we will test your taijutsu. Iruka began. You will engage either Mizuki or myself, however we will not fight back, only defend. Your goal is to score 1 hit on us. Mizuki pulled out a bowl, filled with names. First up is Ino. Ino entered the ring, and although it took nearly 3/4 of the allotted 5 minutes per person, she finally managed to glance a punch against Iruka's shoulder. Next, Sakura. Sakura's fight was almost identical to Ino's, but she managed to hit Mizuki with a kick to the shin. Sasuke. Sasuke faced Mizuki, getting into his Uchiha stance. Although, had Mizuki been fighting back, he would have lost, he managed to land a backhand in a mere 20 seconds. His fangirls fawned, cheering over him. Beat that, Dobi, Sasuke said scaldingly. All his fangirls sneered at the blonde, saying degrading comments. Naruto. Iruka called, stepping into the ring. Begin. Punch. Oh how Naruto loved the sunshine. With a record time of half a second Naruto passes this phase, Mizuki said, slightly disbelieving. Sasuke growled. Where does he get this power? I need this power, he does not deserve it. I need it to kill Itachi. Sasuke said, ranting angrily. Naruto walked back to his friends, who offered him congratulations. Everyone else managed to score a hit, Hinata beating Sasuke with an open-palmed hit to Iruka's stomach after just 10 seconds. That just served to drive him into more of a fury. The raven-haired boy walked to the Dobi. Dobi. Where did you get your power? He growled. The log hast bestowed it unto me, so I may serve it. Cut the bullcrap, Naruto gasped angrily. The holy log is not bullcrap. I'll show you bullcrap. With a few hand seals, Sasuke found himself sitting in, and smelling some illusionary bull turd. You're kidding me, right? Sasuke said angrily. Kai. The shit disappeared, but the smell stayed, and no amount of frantic Kai would get it off for some reason. Iruka walked over to the frantic boy, touching his forehead and muttering Kai. The smell disappeared, Iruka wondering how Naruto could weave a high Chunin level smell altering genjutsu. Mizuki meanwhile called the children in for their last test. The children all took a seat in the classroom to which they were led, while Mizuki and Iruka entered a small, plain door in the corner of the room. Mizuki then poked his head out and shouted for Kiba to enter. As the chatter began, Kiba nervously entered, coming back barely a minute later, the proud owner of a forehead protector. Naruto cheerily patted him on the back, waiting for his turn. Everyone managed to get their forehead protector, except the nameless academy student dude who was mentioned a couple of chapters ago. Anywho, soon enough, Naruto's name was called, Iruka's scarred face appearing to call him. He confidently walked into the room, finding himself in an unused classroom, Mizuki sitting on a desk, while Iruka was standing up, holding a clipboard, chewing a pen. "Ah, Naruto." Mizuki began. "I'd like you to display a henge please." Naruto, without hand seals or even talking, became a log. "Okay then," Iruka said, ticking something on his board. "Clone jutsu please." "Which one?" Naruto asked. "What do you mean?" "Well, I know 6. Iruka's eyes bugged out, but he remained calm. "Well, display whatever you like. You can get extra credit if I find your other ones are good." "Bunshai no jutsu." Naruto muttered, making a seal. 4 illusionary clones appeared. Mizu Bunshai no jutsu. 4 Narutos formed from a cup of water next to Iruka, who frowned slightly. "I was going to drink that." The water clones fell in a splash of water, some falling to the ground, the rest returning to the cup. He got a lot of that water from the air. Mizuki thought. Tsuchi Bunshai no jutsu. Nothing happened at first, then 3 Narutos outside knocked on the window. "There's no rock here, and I didn't want to spoil the floor by bringing some up," Naruto said in a way of explanation. "All right. Continue," Iruka said. "Kage Bunshai no jutsu." Naruto intoned, 5 clones forming. Just as quickly they puffed into smoke. "Kaze Bunshai no jutsu," Naruto said, this time using 2 hand seals. The clones formed looked exactly like a shadow clone, but when dispelled, the surrounding floor got cut deeply. "I've never heard of wind clones," Mizuki thought wryly. "And finally, Moku Bunshai no jutsu," Naruto said, making 3 clones which grew, quite grossly, in Mizuki's honest opinion, from different parts of Naruto's body. "Okay, well, I could honestly pass you with just that, but I think you should show me a kawarimi." Once again with nary a sound nor hand seal, Naruto kawarimi'd, a leaf appearing where he was. Did he just kawarimi with something that small through a solid object? Iruka thought incredulously, referring to the wooden wall. Naruto kawarimi'd again, the leaf disappearing as Naruto came back into sight. Iruka handed him a forehead protector, which he tied around his waist. "Congratulations Naruto, you are now a fully fledged leaf Shanan. You will find out your teams tomorrow, at 9 a.m. Don't forget to come." "Thanks Iruka-sensei," Naruto said cheerily, exiting. He was quickly greeted by Hinata, who, seeing his new adornment, was quick to congratulate. "Congratulations Naruto," she said happily. "We both passed. And I'm second year rookie of the year." "Oh, I didn't think of that." Naruto replied. "Thanks though. How about some celebratory ramen later?" Oh, I can't." Hinata replied, her tone apologetic. "I will probably have to spend the day with my family." "All right then," Naruto said, still slightly cheery but not so much. The 2 friends sat back down, waiting as Iruka tested one last person before finally exiting. He stood in front of 9 newly promoted genins, and he began to give a speech. "I have no doubt that you have all learned at least something in the past year, but the mark of a true teacher is one who learns from his students, as well as teaches. And if there's one thing I've learned from all of you, it's that you will not appreciate a boring long speech. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Be there," Iruka said, his puff of smoke as he sunshine drowned out by the sound of cheering. Naruto walked out, alongside Hinata as the silence died down. "So when will your fa?" Naruto began as they walked into the playground. "Oh, speak of the devil, there he is. And never a paler devil there was." Hyashi replied, inwardly smiling. Naruto gulped nervously, wondering how on earth the ninja had heard him from so far. "Come, Hinata, we must go." "Bye Hinata-chan, Hyashi-sensei." "Naruto, you are invited to dinner later, at 9 o'clock. "Really?" Naruto asked excitedly, brightening up immediately. Hinata's face betrayed her surprise. "This is odd, the feast with the Hyuga is at 5, which obviously means, father invited him to our small personal meal." She thought, it was odd how Naruto had wormed his way into her immediate family's hearts. "Yes. Besides, if I did not invite you, Hanabi would surely wreak vengeance. And hell hath no wrath like an angry woman." Naruto completed wisely. "I was going to say an angry Hyuga, but that works too," Hyashi said. "See you later, Hyashi-sensei," Naruto exclaimed happily, before sunshining off. Naruto sat on the Hokage monument, meditating. He had several hours till he needed to even get home to get ready, never mind go to the Hyuga household, so he decided to get some minor training in. The blonde boy expelled some chakra from his tenketsu, allowing it to dissipate. He carefully tracked where the chakra went to, thus serving 2 purposes, increasing chakra control and improving chakra sensing skills. Naruto decided to change his method, using the chakra he expelled to control the wind around him. It began to spin around him gently, ruffling his spiky hair. He increased the speed, but kept a tight fist on the control, wondering where this random experimentation would get him. He loved random experimentation, it was how he had made the Kaze bun shine. The wind continually spun around him, gaining in speed. Some pebbles from nearby got pulled in, becoming gray streaks in the moving wind, also inspiring the young lad. He at first attempted to add earth chakra straight away, but quickly found himself losing control of the wind. He released the earth chakra, reaffirming his hold on the wind. It seemed the earth chakra was too solid for the flexibility of the wind. He'd have to find another way to combine them. So, with nothing else to do, he released some water-based chakra from his hands, allowing his tenketsu to release wind-based chakra continually. It was very hard to concentrate on both, but his experience with Makuten allowed him to do so. As soon as Naruto released the water chakra, the rapidly moving wind became a speedily moving torrent of wind-powered water. It was to that sight Mizuki walked to the top of the monument. His plans to get the scroll had still not developed, and once he saw the majestic blue orb of water, a slightly shimmering figure of Naruto barely visible behind it, a proverbial light bulb lit above him. He waited for a couple more minutes till the young blonde decided to let go of the water. Mizuki-sensei. Can I help you? Naruto asked, having sensed the man before he even got to the monument. Well, as you know you're the #1 rookie, but we both know your talent exceeds such a position. Seeing Naruto's silence, Mizuki continued. So I have a proposal, you can be instantly promoted to Chunin if you can complete a task for me. Really? Naruto asked excitedly, not believing the man for a second. His log senses were tingling. Yep. Mizuki replied, his hope increasing. All you have to do is retrieve a scroll from the Hokage's office and learn at least one jutsu from it, you will be promoted to Chunin. The scroll looks like this, Mizuki said, showing a photo he had retrieved from Orochimaru. Naruto instantly recognized it. He had seen it in his 4th or 5th time in the Hokage's office, having asked what it was. The Sandaime's simple reply was, the legacy of Konoha's skill. Meet me in the forest at 7 if you manage. I will, sensei, in the name of the log. Naruto held the scroll tightly, jumping through the trees with his practiced traveler's log firmly strapped to his back and adrenaline running through his veins. Naruto was anything but stupid, and when Mizuki had offered his proposal for quick promotion to Chunin, Naruto hadn't believed it for a second and had decided to act as a double agent for the Hokage. However, what the Hokage didn't know was that Naruto was acting as a triple agent. For himself. He could see his destination in the distance, but he knew he was still early, and so he continued with his plan. The young blonde had an impressive ninjutsu arsenal, however, he only knew around 15 Makuten jutsus, 3 of them being of his own invention. It was mostly lack of sources for jutsus, Yamato-sensei often holding back the strongest ones due to Naruto's evident youth. However, this scroll was made by the log pope. It was bound to contain many Makuten jutsu, as well as some Suiten from the second Hokage. And while the boy had agreed with the Sandaime on their plan, he would do anything for such jutsus. With that in mind, he stopped jumping, getting into a meditative position. He was no fool, knowing that the Hokage was probably watching him right now with that crystal ball of his, and so he pulled out a paintbrush and some rice paper, which turned out to be optimum medium for sealing due to better chakra conduction. Who knew? With swift and thick strokes, Naruto painted several kanji with his ink-dipped brush, before laying them around him. He channeled chakra into the perfectly and gracefully made seals, and watched as a barely visible dome of shimmering twinkles enveloped him. XXXXXXXXXXX. The Hokage's crystal ball glowed for a second, shimmering blue kanji spiraling outwards. As the jutsu activated, he began to search for the blonde boy. XXXXXXXXXXX. He closed his eyes, sending chakra into the scroll and visualizing it perfectly in his mind. A few seconds later, the wood from the branch on which he sat began to mutate, seemingly regurgitating a perfect replica of the forbidden scroll. Nary a second later, a Moku Bunshine also melted out of the branch, grabbing the replica and dashing off. The seals stopped glowing as Naruto stopped channeling chakra into them, disintegrating the rice paper with the activation of a small seal on the corner of each paper. The seal which he had just used was the invention he was most proud of. Depending on small details which he painted, it would replicate the surroundings in the past few seconds to all those outside the dome. All the Sandaime had seen when he had scanned over that specific area was the branch, with no seals, no Naruto and no scroll as it was a few seconds ago. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX mission would be complete, and he could go rejoin his master. However, His trek to his meeting place with his soon-to-be victim was horrible. The trees themselves seemed to attack him, paths being shut off by huge webs of branches, his kunai pouch snagged by a low-hanging branch, wolves howling in the distance. A clone of Naruto followed slowly, suppressing his chakra as far as possible while still managing to perform jutsus. He held back a snicker as Mizuki's trousers were accidentally pulled down for the third time by a branch, before applying a fear-inspiring genjutsu. After an hour more of torture, Mizuki finally found his victim, mostly because the Naruto was bored, sitting in a clearing, studying the scroll. "Ah, Naruto. Excellent job," Mizuki began. "Now, just give me the scroll." Naruto began. "Nah. Naruto. Give me the scroll, or you'll be demoted back to academy level," the gray-haired man threatened. "News flash, traitors can't demote anyone," Naruto sneered. Mizuki immediately dropped the kind teacher act. "So, you found out." Mizuki scowled. He would have to use his trump card. "Have you ever wondered why everyone hates you, demon?" he spat out. Naruto pretended to flinch, widening his eyes and letting off a vibe of sadness. "Because, you are the QB," Mizuki roared, expecting Naruto to freak. "And you are a hermaphrodite," Naruto replied. "The log has forbidden any form of traitorous behavior, and I must punish you." "The log? Bullshit. What's the log gonna do to me, huh?" Mizuki asked, ripping a branch off a nearby tree. "See? I haven't received any holy ra," Mizuki screamed. A ray of golden light struck him, setting him on fire as the holy chakra of log burned him. Naruto immediately dropped the scroll, bowing to the floor with reverence. The ray of fiery light stopped just a few seconds short of killing the traitor, leaving Naruto to gather his bearings and encase the man in wood. Mizuki was opening and closing his mouth silently, gaping like a fish. The pain was terrible, but in all honesty he wished he had died. If he had, then he wouldn't be in Iviki's cells for the next few weeks. An Anbu agent came from nowhere, grabbing the wood-encased traitor and leaving without a word, all part of the plan. With that done, Naruto dispersed. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. The Naruto who was currently smoothing the creases in his white kimono barely flinched as he received the memories of his clone. "Mission success," Kyubi said in his mind, its voice deceptively feminine. "That's another load of your mind." Naruto ignored the beast in favor of reading the holy book of log for 20 minutes or so till it was time to make his way to his generous hosts. He began to go to the door but stopped in front of a mirror on the way. He smoothed out some creases, neatened his hair, well, as neat as it could get, made sure he still had his spare kunai and made a clone to stay with his traveler's log. With that all done, he left the door, locking it and shoving the key in one of his inner pockets. He made his way through the dark streets, barely illuminated by some weak street lights, kicking a pebble and reciting some verses of log as he walked. He was around halfway there when he heard a sound. Thump. Curiosity piqued, Naruto made his way towards the sound, his ears leading him to a training field, just in time to see. Thumpshum thump crack. With a final mighty kick, the boy in green spandex cracked the wooden training post in half. Naruto suppressed a shriek. He would need Hanabi's expert advice to punish this heretic. He quickly absorbed all the possible details, from the bowl cut to the wide eyes and orange leg warmers, before continuing on his way. He arrived 5 minutes early, entering with a curt greeting to the guard there. The house was lit warmly, the pipes flowing with warm water under the floor tiles keeping his, now, bare feet warm. He looked around in approval of the lack of dead logs. He had done a good job. Hikage entered the room, greeting him warmly. "Naruto. How have you been? It's been so long since you visited little old me," she said, pinching his cheeks good-naturedly. "I'm sorry, Hikage-san. I just got so caught up in training, and the academy. I've been fine, thank you. How are you?" Naruto replied, sitting on one of the comfortable lounge chairs. Before the Hyuga matriarch could reply, Hanabi came running in with a black kimono embroidered with sparkling logs, her traveler's log firmly strapped to her back. "Blessings of the log upon you," Hanabi said excitedly, sitting down as Naruto replied in turn. Being used to the oddity which was these two, Hikage simply ignored it, content to watch as the two children chattered on. It wasn't long till Hinata joined them, the three of them speculating on the amazing missions they would go on, princesses they would save, dashing thieves they would catch. Hikage held back a snort, not wanting to burst their bubble. Half an hour passed before a timid servant came to tell them that dinner was ready. Hinata thanked her warmly, before grabbing Naruto's arm and leading him to the dining table, where Hiyashi was already seated. Naruto greeted the man, before taking a seat in between Hinata and Hanabi. The eldest Hyuga daughter had warned Naruto prior to keep his stomach empty, and as the smell of the food wafted onto him, he had to suppress the rumbling of his stomach. Servants began to walk in, each holding silver platters, trays and bowls full of food. The table was soon groaning under the strain, and Naruto couldn't help let out a small whoa. Hanabi let out a most unhyuga giggle. This is just the appetizer. Everyone began to dig in, however, Naruto and Hanabi first chanted in unison, "We thank the log this day for this bountiful meal, and we beg the log to bless us and protect us as it always has, and we vow to uphold our side of the bond with the log. Itadakimasu." The dinner lasted 2 hours, and honestly, Naruto couldn't remember most of it, the time passing in a blur of talking, laughing and eating. Afterwards, they all sat in the living room, sipping tea and relaxing. Somehow Naruto found himself getting into a long talk with Hiashi about politics, and somehow he learnt something. Hiashi was actually impressed with the boy, he was rather creative when it came to solving, and so with a few minutes of thought, he turned to his daughter's friend. "Naruto, I am told you wish to become Hokage? If the log wills it." Naruto replied, a gleam in his eye. Hiashi bit back a sigh, before continuing. "I would like to schedule you politics and etiquette lessons, 4 lessons a week." Naruto was about to protest, but Hiashi cut him off. Naruto being Hokage is not easy. Can you imagine a scenario where you have 10 Jonin rank ninja out on the field, however they are all in danger of dying? You could let them die, or you could send your best friend to help the Jonin would live but your friend would perish. Can you imagine the burden of such decisions? Naruto was silent for a second, before, "Alright Hiashi-sensei, and thank you." The time quickly approached midnight, Naruto having been caught up plotting the spandex freak's demise with Hanabi. Seeing the late hour, Naruto excused himself, promising to visit early in the morning to pick up Hinata so that they could go to the academy together where they'd be sorted into their teams. Naruto was dead tired, but he summoned a dozen clones to get busy while he slept. XXXXXXXXXXXXXX. The ringing of Lee's phone woke him up, and he immediately ran to it to answer. He was shocked when a croaking, dark voice answered him. "Your youth will end in 7 days." Lee slammed the phone down, holding down a scream. "Not my youth!" he screamed, rushing to the shower. He felt slimy. He was just beginning to take his pajamas off when he glanced at his visage in the mirror, and he nearly had a heart attack. His youthful hair was withered gray, skin pockmarked with liver spots and drooping off his face, a mass of wrinkles. He fell to the floor, screaming. No, my youthfulness. My golden flames of youth are slipping. My flower of life has withered." Lee nearly gave up, but he was a genius of hard work, and resolved to regain his youth with rigorous, glorious training. He entered the shower, quickly getting clean, and nearly fainted from relief when his image showed the return of his youth. He let out tears of joy, signs of his springtide of youth overflowing, and he began to comb his hair into the most youthful style of the Jejun Maido guy. However, in his horror, nothing was going as he willed. His arms seemed to be independent of him, applying hip gels which he had never purchased and combing in a most unyouthful style. Soon his hair was done up in a most juvenile way, thick waves of silky hair covering his scalp. It reminded him of that singer who had once taken the elemental countries by storm. What was his name? Pelvis Esserly. No matter what he did, the horribly hip hairstyle wouldn't leave him, and with a heavy heart, he decided to counteract the hip style with the most youthful thing of all, spandex. Rushing to his cupboard and yanking the white door open, he fell down in horror. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX teams they would be placed in. Suddenly, birds flew from every tree in sight as an ear-shattering scream reached them. "My spandex," Naruto chuckled slightly, Hinata sending him a puzzled look, but neither of them halted for a second, continuing their way to the academy. They arrived just on time, sitting next to each other, as Iruka began a long speech on the duties, responsibilities and dangers they would be facing. "Wake me up when he's done," Naruto said, taking a nap. Hinata moaned, she had wanted to sleep. "Wake me up when he's finished," Hinata said tiredly, poking Kiba, who had been about to sleep. "A bug boy," Kiba said rudely, looking at Shino. "Wake me up when he stops." However, he was surprised to find Shino fast asleep, as well as Shikamaru. "Choji?" Snores greeted him back, and soon Kiba just gave up and began to doze. "It is important to rem," Iruka said, before being cut off by a loud snore. Everyone in the class was asleep, including the usually respectful people, like Shino and Hinata. Was he really that boring? Turning to his assistant Noriko, Mizuki's replacement, he nearly flipped when he found her fast asleep. He was about to merely wake the students up with a predictable shout and a scary big head jutsu, but instead he smirked. He began to prepare. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX His leather pants firmly hugged his legs, a jet black leather jacket fitted over a white shirt with a flaming skull on it. Lee's usually bandaged hands were instead covered in black, fingerless gloves, a skull-themed watching hanging off his wrist. His usually cheery visage was in tears, but that's not what drew Tenten's attention. That hair, sexy. She thought, could this really be Lee? My youth. Guy-sensei, I have been stripped of my youth and been left in this, horrid, state of hypnosis. Make it go away. Yep, it's Lee. I should really go thank whoever did this. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX concentrating as he said, water shot barrage technique. He aimed for quantity not quality, 31 baseball-sized globes of water floating behind him. Splash! Screams galore, and soon everyone was glaring, and soon after that, everyone was laughing. Who knew Iruka had a sense of humor? Iruka noticed faintly that Hinata and Naruto were totally dry, Naruto somehow making the jutsu just disperse before it hit them. Ignoring the display of skill, Iruka began to talk. Well, I guess the mark of a great teacher is one who learns from his students, and if anything, I've learnt that you won't appreciate a boring speech. So, Team 1. Naruto began to converse with Hinata, perking up when he heard the names of people close to him. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha. Pick me, pick me. Every unassigned girl except Hinata thought quietly. Yamanaki a true love. In your face forehead Gi Ino began to shout, however, she was cut off by Iruka. And Haruno Sakura. Jonin sensei Hatake Kakashi. Immediately, the two harpies began to argue, but everyone tuned them out. Team 8, Nara Shikamaru. Although the said Nara didn't make any move, he was rather surprised, he had expected himself to be assigned with Kuji and Ino. He kept an ear open, wanting to find out the rest of his teammates. Hyuga Hinata, the said Hyuga began to look at her other teammate, before begging that the powers that be had decided that her other teammate would be Naruto Uzumaki. Jounin sensei the windows smashed as a purple and beige blur flew in, bouncing off a wall and landing on Irika's head. As the motion stopped, the blur revealed itself to be a young woman, violet hair done up in a short and somewhat spiky ponytail. A tan trench coat barely covered her mesh bodysuit, which stretched from her neck down to her thighs, a dark orange miniskirt visible to all those present. While the rest of the males were content to leer at those details, the present Nara and Uzumaki were busy absorbing every detail, the shin guards, the snake fang pendant on a thick cord, the dark blue belt and the light brown, pupilless eyes. The sexy and single Mitarashi Anko. The odd woman, now identified as Anko, screamed. No one made a sound as she calmly devoured 3 sticks of dengo, before deftly throwing the sticks towards the students. Hinata and Naruto easily caught the ones aimed at them, Shikamaru deflecting his with a pen. Alright you maggots. Meet in training ground 44, now, she shouted as she disappeared in a whirl of leaves and oddly a hissing, snake-like sound. Naruto was about to dash off when Iruka stopped him. Naruto, training ground 44 is known as the Forest of Death. Naruto suppressed a nervous gulp, instead opting to jump out of the shattered window, using a shunshine mid-fall. He arrived just a millisecond before Hinata, standing silently as Anko analyzed her students. The Tokubutsu Jounin was excited. She had never had students before, and when the Hokage had forced this on her she had been alarmed at the prospect, but toying with these maggots may just be some fun. Shikamaru arrived a few minutes later, having not been able to use the shunshine. Naruto resolved to teach it to him as soon as possible. Alright bugs. She announced, purposely raining spittle on the Jinan in front of her. You may feel happy that you passed, but I'm about to knock you off your high horse. Out of the 10 teams which passed, only a third will actually continue on to become Jinan. What do you mean, Anko-sensei? Hinata asked. Us Jounin senseis must provide an additional test, not some stupid written test, or taijutsu test in a controlled environment. No, we need to see your aptitude at surviving the real world. With that, she disappeared in a blur. Follow me insects. Glancing at each other, the 3 Jinan dashed off into the gloomy forest, wondering what this odd woman held in store for them. They soon arrived in a clearing, but with a shunshine, they found Anko staring at them from a high branch above. Although the forest's namesake was death, the 3 Genins had not seen anything worthy of worry, however, that was about to change. Splash! The 3 Jinan tried to get the liquid out of their eyes, rubbing fiercely. Is this gravy? Naruto asked. Shikamaru gulped fearfully. It's just gravy, Shikamaru. Naruto began. Yeah, gravy in a forest full of hungry animals, tigers, bears and... Oh, tigers and bears will be the least of your worries, Anko said maliciously. Your task is to survive for 2 hours. And with that, she disappeared. A twig snapped, and the three Genin assumed their fighting positions, back to back. A rustle in the bushes, and before they knew it they were facing a pack of wolves, around 12, who formed a circle around the shinobi. The alpha wolf let out an angry growl, before lunging towards Naruto, who ducked, watching as Hinata's palm soared over where he had been, smashing the wolf in the nose. With a pitiful whine, the wolf slunk back, before attacking again with the whole pack behind it. The three Genin began to fight back, however, they didn't want to kill the wolves. Barely 2 minutes passed before Naruto made a dome out of wood, activating a jutsu to light up the dark space. He could hear the wolves clawing at his shield, but he ignored it. We need a plan, he said, looking at his prospective teammates. I have an idea. Shikamaru began. After 5 minutes of consulting, the dome fell. Shit. They all thought simultaneously as they saw what they were facing. Wolves, tigers, bears, bear-sized spiders and a butterfly faced them, angry snarls on all their faces. They wasted no time in beginning their plan. 3 Naruto clones popped out of nowhere, all of them rushing through seals. Wood began to sprout from the ground, grabbing legs, paws, tails and heads, restraining a lot of the animals. At the same time, Shikamaru activated the shadow sewing technique, grabbing 12.5 wolves, and soon all the animals were restrained. Hinata, quick! Shikamaru groaned, the effect of the jutsu quickly burdening him, as he had barely mastered the use of that specific technique. Hinata nodded, gathering some chakra and activating the lightning palm technique. She then began a complex series of acrobatics, jumping, pirouetting, leaping, flipping and cartwheeling, but in less than a minute, all the animals were stunned. Several Naruto clones began to drag them into a huge pile, before constructing a huge cage of wood. They should be out for a good 3 hours, which neutralized the threat for the duration of the exam. They were just about to relax when a scuttling, loud, tap 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 reached them. Again they assumed the back-to-back position, but Hinata, with her Byakugan active, saw the threat first. Oh my! What is it, Hinata-chan? Naruto asked. A 10-meter-high spider, with fangs the size of a tree. Oh holy log sustain us, Naruto shouted, effectively drawing the attention of the humongous arachnid, who emerged from the trees into the clearing. The 3 of them rolled in separate directions, dodging a ginormous pincer. Naruto and Hinata shared a knowing glance, before they grabbed Shikamaru and shunshined up to a branch. Shikamaru, any ideas? Yes, I've read a manual on disabling boss summons, and this shouldn't be much different. First. Soon they were enacting another of Shikamaru's plans. Naruto and Hinata jumped from the tree, occupying the spider while Shikamaru rushed through the bushes. Naruto rolled to the side, narrowly dodging the leg which would have pierced through his body. He ran towards the spider, dodging another leg and jumping up till he was level with the spider's cephalothorax, sending a vicious axe kick. However, he collided with the spider's shell, bouncing off with a pained leg. He was about to attack again when Shikamaru's whistle reached him. Both he and Hinata jumped back, watching as hundreds of kunai attacked the spider. While the arachnid was distracted, 2 clones launched Hinata towards the spider, her palms crackling with purple electricity. The Hyuga landed on the creature's head, before she began to attack the spider's soft points. A couple of attacks on the head, some lightning jutsu directed to the creature's underbelly, and soon the monstrosity was stunned. Seeing his turn, Naruto quickly activated a jutsu. Wooden appendages exploded outwards towards the beast, 8 in total, each aiming for a leg. As each leg was hit, the wood detached from Naruto's body, spiraling around the spider's leg and attaching to the ground, until the spider was held by wooden shackles in a corkscrew fashion. However, it wasn't enough, and as the spider regained mobility, it began to struggle against the bonds. Shikamaru quickly threw several kunai, thick steel ninja wires attached to each, and he managed to skillfully trap the spider. Naruto quickly pulled out his jet black whip, using his chakra to change it to 2 wakizashis. He channeled wind chakra through the right one, viciously attacking the spider's underbelly. He narrowly avoided the spilled guts and innards as the spider was sliced open in several directions, but couldn't avoid the splatter of blood. The spider groaned, but did not die till Hinata exploded a lightning ball in the thing's face. As the spider fell, the 3 fell back with a gasp. Seeing that they smelled of blood and gravy, Naruto quickly used a water jutsu to rid them of the worst smell, concealing the rest with a genjutsu. Anko walked in, clapping slowly. Excellent job, it seems you instinctively grasped the meaning of the exercise. The meaning, Anko-sensei? Shikamaru asked. This was also troublesome. Tell me, would you have been able to neutralize the threat of the animals if you had each acted alone? Would you have been able to kill that spider solo? Teamwork, Naruto said, that was the meaning, right? Yes. A team with individually skilled members will be useless if they cannot act as a cohesive unit. Anyway, you maggots stink. Go. You have the day off, meet at the Dengo stand on Street 42 tomorrow at 5 a.m. sharp, she said, an evil glint in her eye. 'Cause that's when training begins. The three gulped nervously as their sensei disappeared. How about some celebratory ramen? Naruto said cheerfully. We didn't really get a chance to get to know you, Shikamaru, Naruto began. Naruto and I already know each other very well, but if we're going to be a team we should get to know each other. Hinata added. Shikamaru inwardly groaned. Troublesome. However, so far, his team didn't seem too bad, they were skilled and effective, and despite the fact that one was undeniably mental, they were both amicable people, willing to work as a team. He'd be stuck with them for, at the very least, 3 months, when the next Chunin exams were scheduled, so he should at least be on good terms with them. But honestly, ramen? You know, Naruto, I was hoping we could eat something other than ramen. In fact, I sort of have a picnic basket. Read yes, Naruto shouted happily. The log hath truly blessed me today. Hinata makes the best picnic baskets. All right then, Shikamaru said, let's get cleaned up and meet at the ramen stand. I know a really awesome place to eat the picnic. Fair enough. Naruto replied, before shunshining to his apartment. A mere 10 minutes later, the three Jonin had met up in the ramen stand and was being led by Shikamaru. They were walking for a good 20 minutes till they reached the spot, but thankfully Hinata kept the picnic basket heated with the application of chakra. Shikamaru led them to a hilly area, neatly trimmed grass waving in the evening breeze, the sunset visible over the Hokage mountain in the distance. Hinata opened the basket, and his eyes widened as the smell of his favorite food, mackerel and kelp, reached him, and although he previously didn't feel hungry, he was suddenly ravenous. Smirking, Hinata handed him a plate with the food on it, as well as a mug of hot, sweet tea. Naruto found himself served with what he dubbed the Hinata special ramen, a mixture of hot spices, salty broth, various meats and some deep-fried vegetable. A bowl of red bean soup was also placed in front of him, while Hinata had some cinnamon rolls and a bowl of zenzai. As they ate, they talked quietly. They didn't bother with any introduce yourself things, as that was rather lame. In fact, they talked about each other's abilities, strengths and weaknesses, and somehow that conversation left Shikamaru with the unbelievable urge to train. After hearing the big bunch of varietal skills which was Hinata and Naruto, he felt like a one-trick pony, and though it was troublesome, he decided to change that. At around 5, they decided to go their separate ways. Shikamaru made his way straight home, entering the Nara compound and searching for his father. He found the man in the Nara medical lab, crushing some antlers to make some of the Akimichi food pills for his good friend Kuza. Ah, Shikamaru, what brings you here? Did you pass the Jinan test? The scarred man asked. Yes, Dad, I did. But, I need your help. The man stopped what he was doing, turning to his son. What would that pertain to? Dad, I want you to teach me. I know I've always said it's troublesome, and although I've always wanted to be an average ninja, I don't believe that's going to happen with the likes of Naruto and Hinata on my team. So, teach me. The elder Nara was surprised, his son wanted to learn? No matter how much the man usually bugged the younger Nara, he would always be busy and honestly, at his son's current skill level, he was afraid that the child would be endangered in the shinobi world. Looking at the gleam in the boy's eyes, he felt proud, and in around 2 seconds he drew up a lesson plan, taking into account time spent with his team, festivals and holidays, long missions, percentage probability that the boy would pass the Chunin exams. All right then. Let's get started. He announced firmly. XXXXXXXXXXXXX Naruto was on his way home when he felt a familiar present. He nearly squealed in happiness, he's back. With 2 quick shunshines, he was at the gate, ready to greet the man. Blessings of the log upon you, Naruto said happily. And to you, my log Oshiego. How have you been? Yamato asked. He was tired, bloody and sweaty, but it was a joy to see the blonde-haired child. The said kid was currently relieving him of his packs, sending a clone to take them back to his house. Fine, thanks. How was the mission? Naruto didn't know exactly what the S-ranked mission had involved, but it had taken a massive 3 months, and the blonde was curious. The log blessed me, and I have completed the mission. But that's nothing, I managed to make a pilgrimage to the Great Oak, he exclaimed. Whoa! XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX outside. As he was dismissed, the Hokage ordered him to tell Naruto to enter. As the blonde did so, Yamato went home to shower. "Hi old man. How are you?" "Fine, thank you, take a seat," the Hokage said. "Well, first of all, thank you for your help defeating Mizuki. Since he was a traitor, then that mission technically classifies as an A rank, and you will receive pay accordingly." "Really? Thanks old man," Naruto said, knowing exactly what to do with the money. "That's not all of it. The spider which Anko had you defeat, well, that wasn't the original purpose. Anko was originally going to summon a large snake to see how you could handle it, however the Ujiujiusho served a purpose. There was actually a bounty on the beast's head, as it had once killed a wealthy merchant's wife. It is a significant sum, nearly double the value of the S-rank pay, and I'm trusting you to split it equally between your team." Naruto was gobsmacked. If this was true, then he could finally, "Oji-san, can you tell me if there are any empty plots for sale in Konoha?" XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX case for a plot. Granted, he had dipped into his savings a bit, but he had a plot. Even if the plot was on the edge of the forest of death, it was still a plot. He quickly delivered his teammates' share of the cash to their clans, with a note to each, before running home. He had some planning to do. As per Anko's orders, Team 8 met at the designated meeting place at 5 a.m. in the morning, droopy-eyed and sleepy. Hinata and Shikamaru were both excited at their first proper earnings in the ninja career, but soon Anko arrived. "All right, maggots," Anko shouted, appearing suddenly behind Shikamaru, who barely suppressed a shriek. "Don't scare us like that," Naruto shouted. "The log frowns upon scaring comrades." "The log?" Anko asked, confused. "Don't ask." Hinata advised. However, Anko resolved to find out what Naruto was always going on about. "Anyway, where was I?" Anko continued. "Something to do with flesh-eating larvae." Shikamaru replied sardonically. "Ah yes, maggots. It's too early for any missions, so instead we'll train for a while. Now, first thing every morning will be calisthenics." Naruto snorted. "Calisthenics, Anko? Really? We've all been doing push-ups and sit-ups and jogs for years. Teach us jutsu." Anko threw an ever-present dengo stick at the blonde, but using his control of wood, the stick disintegrated. Mumbling something about ungrateful zealots, Anko cautioned. "I'll tell you what's different than your usual training at home." The violet-haired woman made her way to Naruto, pulling out a paintbrush. "Extend your bare wrist." Naruto did so, and soon the woman began to paint. Naruto, being an aspiring Fuinjutsu master himself, absorbed every detail, and by the second brush stroke he knew exactly what she was doing. He squealed, but didn't move. If the seal got messed up just so, it could explode, or implode. He wasn't sure which was worse. Soon, Anko finished the seal, commanding the boy to keep his arm still as it dried. The woman quickly did the same for the other members, and once she deemed the seals dry, she activated each one by touching the seal with 2 fingers of her left hand and putting her right in a half-tiger seal. Each time she muttered, "Ninja arts, weight multiplication, and the gravitational pull, i.e. weight, of the unfortunate sealed person would double, Hinata, treble Shikamaru, or even quadruple, Naruto, who groaned, "All right, maggots. Laps around the village, pronto." To emphasize the point, she summoned 3 snakes, which chased the terrified and heavy-limbed Jinan around the city for a good 2 hours, till the summons dispersed and the 3 of them collapsed. Shikamaru didn't miss the fact that, despite the fact that Naruto had double his weight multiplier, he had barely broken a sweat. "Oh log, that was exhausting," Naruto exclaimed, and though he didn't show the same bodily strain as the rest of his Jinan troop, he was telling the truth. "So tired," Hinata murmured. "I'm tired too," Anko said, appearing out of nowhere. "Tired of hearing you moan." "Push-ups, pronto." A chorus of groans were her reply as the 3 Jinan got into position. At around 9 a.m., the battered Genins collapsed. That was not calisthenics. That was bloody murder. Naruto had been cursing Anko with every name under the log, Hinata content to merely try to breathe, while Shikamaru couldn't even muster the energy to talk. Too troublesome anyway. "Now my little minions," Anko said, a positively evil smirk on her face. "While you recover from our light training, we should consult each other. We are now a Jinan team, and there's 2 ways we can go about it. We could push most of our efforts into getting missions done, or we could work on our abilities as a team and train." They all thought for a second, before a proverbial light bulb lit up above Naruto's head. The log hast blessed me with knowledge, Naruto exclaimed. Why don't we do both? Both? Gaki, we can't be in two places at once, Anko said, slowing down as she caught on to what the boy was thinking. She knew he could perform several corporeal clones. Exactly. I can make clones which can henge into disguises of Shikamaru and Hinata, and while they build up our mission reputation, we can train. Shikamaru was all for it, free mission rep, and he'd have to do nothing. Better yet, Anko said, and suddenly Shikamaru had a bad feeling, each of us will summon our own clone. The strain of upholding a clone throughout the entire day should also help to increase our chakra reserves. Shikamaru groaned. Okay then, who here cannot perform a corporeal clone? Only Shikamaru raised his hand, but before Anko could suggest anything, he spoke up. Our clan has a specialized clone, which is actually the origin of the shadow clone technique, Shikamaru said, sending a knowing glance at his blonde teammate. Alright, Naruto shouted happily. Okay then, my original plan was to train or do missions for the rest of the day, but that's changed. We'll do one mission, and then Shikamaru will return to his clan to learn his clone technique after some light sparring between team members. Well, time is money, let's get to the Hokage's office. Soon they were entering the large, red building, making their way to the assignment desk where a Chunin handed out D ranks. Any mission above that was handed out personally by the Hokage, and soon they were back on their way. It's just a cat, Naruto said, should be easy, right? Anko decided not to burst his bubble, but found herself surprised that she didn't need to. His bubble was left unscathed. Hinata quickly found Tora with ease, Shikamaru analyzing the cat's movement and managing to lead it to a bunch of trees. As soon as the cat climbed up, it let out a shriek as the tree's branch itself wrapped around the feline, bringing it down to Naruto's waiting arms. Of course, to avoid scratching, he cocooned it in a blanket of wood. Just under 2 minutes later, the team returned to the Hokage Tower with the cat, taking the mission pay and leaving an awestruck Chunin. 2 minutes, world record. Even some Chunin teams end up chasing the nimble feline hours on end, and this was just the first thing of many which would gain the team fame. On their way out, they bumped into Team 7, only just coming in for their first mission. Naruto was surprised to find out they passed. Sasuke team. What are you doing here? You passed the exam, right? The two female members of Team 7 began to look at the ground, shuffling their feet, while Sasuke began to angrily glare at everything. Kakashi quickly greeted Anko, before ushering his now forlorn team onwards. What was that all about? Naruto asked, once they had walked a decent distance from the tower. Well, Shikamaru began, everyone turning to listen, word is that they failed the exam. My father told me that the purpose was teamwork, however the two girls refused to cooperate, each vying for Sasuke's attention, while Sasuke only treated them as an annoyance. How did you know? Hinata asked. There was a huge argument about it in the council. While in all ordinary circumstances, they would have been sent to the academy, the majority of the council showed major favoritism towards the Uchiha, and so they let them pass. What? Those cheats. Naruto growled, if anything, he hated people who didn't work for what they got. It was one of the main reasons Naruto hated the Uchiha clan, the Sharingan was just despicable. Nevertheless, Anko said as they reached a training ground. Hinata, you spar Shikamaru. Naruto, you spar me, but weapons only. The pairs went a distance from each other, both fights beginning on an invisible mark. Shikamaru instantly sent his shadow out to Hinata, who had trouble dodging due to the weight on her body. However, she managed to get close to the boy, and soon they began a battle of taijutsu. Meanwhile, Naruto threw 2 kunai at his opponent, swiftly pulling out his jet black whip. Anko herself pulled out 2 iron dagger axes much to Naruto's surprise. He had never imagined Anko wielding the GE. Naruto pulled out a hook-ended kunai, wielding it in reverse grip with his left hand. As Anko approached, his whip snaked out, but she deftly avoided it with barely a movement. Anko swiped the dagger side of her weapon with her left hand, before attempting to pierce Naruto's leg with the axe of her right. Naruto dodged the first, blocking the second with the hooked kunai, replying by aiming for Anko's head with the whip. The violet-haired woman noticed how adeptly Naruto controlled the whip, sensing how he used chakra to help shape it. She blocked the vicious thing, smirking. This would be fun. Hinata ducked the kunai sent after her, before throwing 3 shuriken at her teammate. Lightning release, she muttered, performing a hand seal, shuriken storm. Thick strands of lightning exploded from the shuriken, singing the Nara as he narrowly dodged one. He thought it was over when Hinata slammed her palm into his back, expecting a vital tenketsu to be hit, but he was surprised to find her pulling back, throwing 4 more shurikens each with an odd seal inscribed on them. Ninja arts, homing technique, she said quietly, and to the boy's horror, the shuriken began to follow him, even as he dodged. Hinata then summoned a water clone, applying double pressure as she attacked. Shikamaru quickly figured out how Hinata had slapped a seal onto his back earlier, but he couldn't reach it. With that in mind, he ripped off his jacket, throwing it at the Hinata clone. Unprepared, the shuriken tore through the jacket, slamming into the clone, before falling on the seal, motionless. The clone dispersed into a fine spray of water, and the battle was about to resume when Anko called for a halt. Hinata glanced at Naruto, who was putting away his double wakizashi whip with a smile on his face. Anko was strong, very strong, and it had been exhilarating. Soon Shikamaru was making his way home, leaving Anko with the other two Genin. "All right then, Hinata, come here." The violet-haired woman handed the other girl a piece of chakra paper, before continuing. "What I want you to do is to channel your chakra, but purposefully hold back the lightning aspects of your chakra. I'd like to find out your secondary attunement, if you have one." The girl found it difficult the first time, but she managed to do it, finding the paper bursting into flames. Naruto chuckled. "Between Hinata-chan and I, we have all the elements covered." Anko was suddenly struck with an idea. "Why don't you two think of combinational techniques between you two? I don't think you could quite invent a jutsu yet," at which point, Naruto coughed slightly but didn't say anything. Hinata hadn't undergone the vigorous elemental manipulation as he did and hadn't invented anything yet. "But you could at least combine jutsu." Naruto thought out loud. "I have an idea." He quickly whispered something into Hinata's ear, who nodded unsurely. Remembering what he had done on the Hokage monument, he began to release chakra from his tenketsu. The wind around him began to whirl about his body, and once it was at sufficient speeds, Naruto balled water chakra in his hand, before adding it to the orb of moving wind around him. It instantly became a controlled tornado of water, at which point Hinata began to collect lightning chakra. Carefully activating the lightning palm jutsu, she pressed her palms against the moving water. The effect was instantaneous, the water becoming charged, crackling with lightning and charring the grass on which Naruto stood. On a whim, Anko threw a kunai at the moving, electrical water, and was nearly decapitated as it exploded back at her, only saved by her deeply ingrained instincts. She was awed at the power, however the jutsu was destabilized and Naruto found himself blown several meters away, hair charred from the shock. It seemed the jutsu was volatile if not carefully controlled, but it was an interesting concept. For a few hours, Naruto's clones trained a variety of things, from the different forms of his weapons to a Makuten jutsu from the Forbidden Scroll. Anko meanwhile taught Hinata a fire jutsu, before coming back 3 hours later to tell them to go home and relax for tomorrow. Hinata quickly went home, hankering for a shower, however Anko held back Naruto. Tell me of the log." Naruto was absolutely delighted to do so, and began to explain the fundamentals of the Great Log, its role in the life of ninja. And there was a time of despair, where the warrior wept for his fallen comrade, the log. "His wooden body shattered, his sap of life spent," he quoted. But in this time of grief and agony, there was hope, for the warrior knew that the splinters would become fertile soil and his comrade will awaken anew, for the circle of log and life shall never end. Book of the Sapling, verse 3, Chronicles of Log Sage Ryosanki. Anko was fascinated. She felt so enlightened, and could not believe how she had lived this long in ignorance. Suddenly her dark world was alight with the will of log burning brightly in her soul, and she had purpose. The two ninjas went to their respective homes to shower, before meeting again. Naruto led her to an obscure place, where a great oak stood in a clearing. She followed the boy, up the tree, and several hundred meters later she arrived at what Naruto identified as the log house of central worship. It was an elegantly made treehouse, obviously the work of Yamato, spacious and simple. All that resided in the house was a small shelf with copies of the Holy Book of Log and the Log and I Manual, 3 bean bags in the middle of the building. A few more spares of the bean bag lay in the corner. The only other noticeable features were excerpts of the Book of Log decorating the walls in elegant, gold kanji on parchment. Naruto walked to one of the 4 walls, placing a palm against a large seal and letting chakra flow in it. Barely 10 seconds later, Hanabi appeared in a puff of smoke, Yamato right behind her. With a glance at the seal, Anko could see how Naruto had created some sort of two-way kawarimi, usable with just the application of chakra. In fact, a large pile of rice paper was present to facilitate the use, but Anko couldn't fathom how they kawarimi'd through walls. "Log's blessings upon you," Naruto said, his 2 friends replying accordingly. "All right then. First thing, as of yesterday, Hanabi and I have punished our 10th heretic, and such at some point we will make a pilgrimage to the Great Log and procure our traveler's log. Yamato clapped Abbott, wondering what Anko was doing here. As for you Log-sensei, I know you have only punished 2 heretics, however, you may punish the rest with our new convert, Anko. Yamato and Hanabi cheered, clapping, and before they knew it, they were all sitting on the bean bags in the middle, enjoying some snacks, laughing, discussing the log and just having fun. By the end, Anko actually exited the treehouse with a smile, and not the sadistic type she'd give to her next victim, no, a light-hearted, true smile. She immediately returned home, praying forgiveness from the great log and planning to get rid of all the dead logs in her apartment. Hanabi went home, however, Naruto stayed with Yamato some more, discussing a certain thing, with which Yamato was more than happy to help XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX the next day. Instead of waking up at the usual 5 a.m., we find Yamato and Naruto awake at the ungodly hour of 3 a.m., walking towards the forest of death. As they walked, Yamato taught Naruto a trick which kept the majority of forest animals from them, just exude a slight bit of killing intent, as if a personal deathly aura would counteract that of the forest. Naruto was surprised to find out that this was the difference between the great predators of the world, they had the ability to exude a killing intent. Soon they arrived in quite a large clearing, littered with various trees and bushes. With the slight application of chakra, those trees and bushes were swallowed into the ground, appearing at the edge of the clearing, giving a totally empty, if unkempt area. The first thing they did was level the ground, as it was harder to do what they wished on unsteady and sloped ground. Once it was perfectly smooth, they worked together on fixing the grass to a respectable height. Although their powers mainly involved wood control, it gave some form of control over life. Soon the area was perfect for building. Naruto and Yamato had had a long debate about this matter before building the log house. Naruto had believed it was disrespect to the great log, using its cousin as materials for buildings of mere humans. However, Yamato won the child over, describing how one would be closer to the log if it was continuously appreciating its blessing. Also, the fact that their wood did not come from actual trees, originating purely from raw water, earth and chakra, helped a lot. With the help of Naruto, Yamato instantly began to work, barking instructions to the young boy. Yamato had more experience creating buildings using his Makuten, and so he knew all the architectural background without a problem. It did help that, due to his attunement to wood, he could feel where structural reinforcements were needed and such things. By the time they had built the bulk of the building, Naruto was also beginning to develop such a feel. It took 2 hours of careful building, reabsorbing the wood and rebuilding, till Naruto thought it was perfect. The two of them stepped back, Yamato breathing heavily, as they assessed their work. The building was 3 stories high, and cookies for anyone who could guess, it was shaped like a log. The entrance consisted of 2 high-standing logs with nothing in between, and Yamato was confused how it was a door if there was nothing there. However, Naruto asked him to leave, and he was offended at first, till Naruto told him it was a surprise. As the brown-haired man flitted through the trees, Naruto took out a fine brush and walked towards what would soon be his new home, a smirk on his face. As he neared the large building, he took out a huge blueprint, summoning a stand of wood to hold it while he thought. First he went to the door, deftly painting a seal on both logs. He then made a large slab of artfully made wood, perfectly sized to fit in between the 2 logs and close the gap, before allowing the earth to absorb it. He then added another few brush strokes to the seal, before stepping back. He then channeled some chakra through the seal, and watched as the wooden slab rose up. He channeled again and watched as it disappeared. Smiling, he put his hands together in a seal, focusing his chakra. A few seconds, large thuja emerald green sprouted from nothing, forming a thick hedge around the clearing. He painted a seal in the ground in front of the 2 facing Konoha, channeling chakra into the seal after it was formed. Naruto watched as the 2 bright green, dense trees gracefully bent away, creating an entrance. Excellent, he thought, before walking to all 4 corners of the plot and placing seals there. This wasn't guaranteed to work, as he had only ever tried it in small areas, but nevertheless he allowed chakra to flow into the master seal, which controlled the rest. A shimmering dome formed, but summoning a clone and ordering it to go outside, Naruto could see that the house was still slightly visible. He then placed 4 more seals, totaling at 8 and activated again, his clone telling me the building now successfully looked like the rest of the surrounding forest. He had used a seal combination which was similar to the one he had used in the Mizuki incident, however over a much larger area, and combined with a genjutsu which encouraged people to veer off another side when coming in this direction. Hey! He wanted his privacy. The boy then entered his house, frowning, the silence was deafening. He began to get to work, furnishing and decorating as far as his Makuten abilities allowed him. Seeing as it was free, he crafted elegant and stylish tables, chairs, bed frames, anything he could think of. While he would have to buy pillows for chairs, mattresses for beds etc., he was euphoric. He finally had a house. He couldn't quite call it a home, contrary to the common saying, home is not where the heart is, home is where the log is. Naruto sat for a bit, just thinking. Right now the only skills he had were ninja related, and while that was good enough, it could not occupy his life all the time. His skills were quite strong and varied. Indeed, he could easily take on a jounin after the 3 years of vigorous training. However, when it came to life he was a one-trick pony. He decided to learn more. 3 Makuten Bunshines shunshined off, each holding a large wad of cash. Naruto had been saving for several years, and now he was feeling severely broke, and he knew at this rate he'd have just enough for the basic necessities. That would not do. Leaving 30 cage Bunshines behind to further his non-shinobi skills, and 300 to further his shinobi skills, Naruto dashed off to the Hokage office. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX pile up, and were beginning to get complaints. The Sandaime frowned, thinking. What on earth could they do though? After doing the first 30 or so D ranks, Jinan teams would just do C ranks, and although a new Jinan team or two meant less D ranks were present, they were never fully taken care of. As if it was a kame-send, Naruto burst into the office. Oji-san. I need your help, he said. The Hokage ordered the Chunin to depart, before turning to his other subordinate. Yes, Naruto? Well, I'm sorta low on cash, Naruto announced. The Hokage groaned inwardly. The boy was of course going to ask for some. I was wondering if there are any spare D-rank missions lying around? Naruto asked. A proverbial light bulb lit over the Hokage's head. I may be able to redirect a few, he said as they began to discuss. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX 10 minutes later, Naruto walked out with 12 mission scrolls and a plan. He quickly made his way to an empty training ground, summoning 48 clones. Alright y'all. He spoke up. Henges, people. Instantly the 48 Naruto's image changed, all becoming gray-clad teens with gray masks and simple sandals. 12 of them were slightly taller, and all had the Konoha logo on the front. In bold black text, Konoha Ninja D Rank Service, was written. This was the plan of Naruto and Hiruzen. At first Naruto had wanted to form a totally independent group, but Sarutobi had feared that the Ninja Corps would get a bad reputation and less income from the lower-ranked missions. Sarutobi decided to make it seem like a branch of the already present Ninja Corps, and due to their disguises and slight illusions on hair color and visible skin, they all looked like different people, but the mask prevent any close scrutinization. This way, Konoha would get a better reputation with civilians requiring D rank, the Konoha income would increase and of course so would Naruto's. Naruto quickly shared the scrolls out, splitting his clones into 3 D rank dummies and 1 taller D rank dummy. They quickly dispersed, ready to do their jobs. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX clone, but he happily obliged. Alright then Shikamaru. One more time. Shikaku announced, watching his son perform the tiger hand seal, followed by the Nara unique seal. Shikamaru's shadow split in two, the second half bubbling up and forming an exact replica, bored expression and all, except the eyes were noticeably empty. Excellent son, the more you practice it the faster it will form. Now the darkness clone has advantages and disadvantages over the shadow clone. It won't die in one hit, depending on how much chakra you give it, but you will feel around 10% of the pain they feel, though it won't cause injury. If you become a true master of it, then you will feel no pain like the shadow clone. Darkness clones can be used as an advanced speed way of training, however I don't believe you will be able to use it as effectively as Naruto. Also, the fact that you create it from your shadow means that other shadow-related techniques will not be as powerful. Shikamaru absorbed the information without a sound, already calculating various battle plans with this data. Now, at some point, when I deem you ready, I'll teach you the advanced darkness clone technique. Shikamaru's interest was piqued. Dad, can you show me it? Sure son. Shikaku, showing his mastery over the technique, didn't even use a hand seal. Shikamaru noticed some marked differences in the creation. Instead of dividing, his dad's shadow duplicated, and the clone looked exactly the same, including the eyes. Now, punch the clone. Doing as his father willed, he slammed his fist into the clone, only to find the area of contact darkening to a pitch black, before the clone's body distorted, opening an empty space where the fist hit. Shikamaru's mind whirled at the possibilities. He had to learn that. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX They were all surprised. Usually Anko was early in anticipation of some torture for her students. When she did arrive, Hinata and Shikamaru's respective jaws dropped and Naruto smiled proudly. Gone was the slutty uniform, replaced by a loose, thick wood-textured trench coat, tied around the waist with a heavy sash. Loose leather trousers replaced the mini skirt, the ends of which just overlapped her steel-toed boots. Her snake pendant was replaced by a log one, and a log was strapped to her back. Shikamaru sighed. Naruto, you're contagious. The Hokage thought from his office, the corners of his lips lifting as Hinata gushed over her sensei's new look. The log has taught me the ways of modesty. I shall reflect that in the way I dress, Anko said, her eyes twinkling. Hinata found this, almost romantic, before she turned around. All right maggots. Clones up. Naruto made a Moku Bunshine, at the same time receiving the memories of another clone. Each time a group of clones had finished their job, they would create a clone which would dispel to inform their master. Up till now, Naruto clones had already done 6 missions. 2 of them had been Tora, the beast having escaped the daimyo's wife mere minutes after being captured. As the clone team 8 set off to begin D-rank missions, Naruto began to talk. Guys, before we begin training, can I show you something? The team found themselves being led towards the Forest of Death, where Naruto took them to one of the western edges. He took them to a seemingly empty spot, but all of them felt the urge to go a different way. Naruto told them to ignore it, dragging them, and as soon as they entered the invisible bubble, the tall trees came into view. Naruto led them to one, asking each of them to spill a drop of blood on the roots. With some confusion, they did so. The tree glowed, after which Naruto told them to channel chakra into it. When they did, the trees bent away, opening up for the group, satisfying Naruto that his seal worked. Wow, Hinata said, gasping at the tall, log structure. Anko merely gazed in wonder. It was amazing. Shikamaru simply congratulated Naruto on getting a house. Give us a tour? Anko asked. Naruto happily obliged, taking them first to the door, above which was engraved, "Home is where the log is." Once again, the 3 teammates spilled a drop of blood on the seal, the door now allowing access to them. Already some clones had begun to furnish the place, using the money made in the morning, but it was still rather bare. Naruto showed them around, showing the bathrooms and briefly explaining an ingenious invention of his. It's called the toilet, Naruto said to the 3 viewers staring at the pristine white object. Right now it's not fully functional, but basically anything that goes in is kawarimied with fresh sea water. My clone is on his way to the sea now to implant the other end of the seal. Of course this has amazing pranking capabilities as well. Anko immediately imagined Sasuke with the receiving end of the seal. Can you imagine losing a hair every time someone shits, only to get splattered? They continued the tour, through the kitchen, the living room, several bedrooms and showing them the wonderful view of the Hokage monument from the top of the building. He then led them to the bottom again, going to a room which they had not visited yet. Naruto jabbed his finger, allowing the blood to touch a seal. The expertly constructed piece of Fuinjutsu absorbed his life essence with a sucking sound, allowing the door in front of them to open, revealing a room full of various shinobi supplies, including job-specific outfits and several weapons. Before they could take a good look, Naruto opened a trap door, jumping down, the others quickly following. They were in pitch black, a large open room as far as Anko could tell. Naruto's voice echoed ominously. "Welcome, to my dojo." "Ooh, I'm so SC, what the fuck is that?" Shikamaru suddenly asked as the lights came on. He found himself standing face to face with, what seemed to be, a huge, leather, foam-filled penis. Advanced punching bag. Naruto replied, glancing at the black object. The dojo was a humongous room, filled with all kinds of things, including a small warm-up course, weights, loads of practice dummies, made of foam-filled leather of course, straw practice targets, 3 separate sparring rings and a large chest. Doors on the west side of the room lead to an advanced acrobatic obstacle course, ranging from huge, swinging, spiked balls to pits of razor-sharp spikes, while doors on the east side led to necessities such as the kitchen, a bathroom, with again the ingenious toilet, a shower room etc. One room was locked, Naruto refusing to tell them what it was, but the team could hear signs of activity in there. "What's in the chest?" Anko asked, walking towards it. I wouldn't do that if I were you," Naruto said, but his sensei and fellow log worshipper ignored him, walking over the warm, tiled ground to the box. She flipped some latches before lifting the lid slightly, but to her surprise it sprang open, a horrid screeching sound emerging. A huge, black ghost-like creature appeared, bony frail hands poking out of the somehow scary-looking tattered, black rags. It let off an ominous aura, seemingly sucking the happiness from the room, and it began to descend on Anko. Who laughed? "What the fuck is this, a haunted Jack-in-the-Box?" she said, before turning to the monster. Suddenly the screeching stopped, replaced by a piteous whimpering sound. Naruto and Shikamaru groaned empathically, watching as Anko nutted the poor thing before shoving it back where it came from. "Where in the name of Kami's breast did you get that, Naruto?" Shikamaru asked. "I know. Probably from one of those stupid crossovers." Kyubi commented, but not knowing what he meant, Naruto ignored the beast, turning to Anko, who predictably said, "All right, maggots. Time for our light training." And with an ominous hiss, they were running laps around the dojo. Kakashi wished he could just fall down and die. He had only been the Jinan teacher for a couple of days, but it was living hell. Was this karma? Even if he did have the disposition to teach his students, they weren't very accepting. The only type of sparring Sakura and Ino would ever partake in was catfights over who could stay with Sasuke. Sasuke himself was at his nerve's end, sick of all the fangirl attitude of his teammates. Sasuke needed power, it was a given fact, and though he may act like an ass, he appreciated Kakashi's attempts to teach him. The boy was currently attempting the tree walking exercise, but could not concentrate as his two harpies were fighting again. However, he pulled through, and managed to get to the top. Giving him a view of Team 8, training as a cohesive unit in a nearby training field. It was infuriating to see them work together like a well-oiled machine, no bickering, no screeching and no fangirls. He was usually a rather stoic boy, content to his brooding and not really bothering himself with others. However, seeing the performance of Team 8 really snapped any tolerance he had for his fangirls. "Sasuke loves me mo," Sakura was shouting when she was interrupted by the loud thump of Sasuke landing in front of her. Kakashi looked on in interest. "Listen, you pathetic excuses for ninja," Sasuke spat out, startling the girls. "This is not a joke. I am sick and tired of your endless bitching. I was going to try change your minds, make you want to be good kunoichi, but fuck that. I hope you guys die on our first decent mission, not that we'll ever get one seeing as how pathetic you are." The two girls were shocked silent, nearing tears. "And just so you know, I don't like fucking long hair, short hair, pink hair, yellow hair, I don't care about hair. Or height. Or weight. In fact, the way you starve yourselves like hookers just takes you up a notch or two in my pathetic list. A true ninja should be training so much that they lose weight even if they gourmet on Dengo all day." Anko ducked under Shikamaru's kick, before holding her hand to her nose. Naruto's eyes widened, before screaming, "Scatter!" His clones didn't heed his warning, and were hit with the full blast of Anko's terrible sneeze. Sasuke. Sakura began, crying. "Don't talk to me. What type of ninja cries, huh?" Sasuke said, stalking off. The next day, after training, Anko found herself walking to a bar where the Jounins held the monthly poker game. It had become a sort of tradition, to just relax once in a while with each other. Now usually, men would go slack-jawed at the sight of the sexy Anko, but this time, their jaws dropped at the loose clothing of the Tokubutsu Jounin, though none could deny she still looked rather stylish. Anko knew that everyone would be surprised, but when Kakashi dropped his book she knew surprise was not quite the word to describe it. Then, with an angry flick, a kunai flew less than a quarter an inch under the silver-haired man's crotch. "Do not leer," she said venomously. "The log hast forbid such immodest procedure." "Well." Ibiki coughed. "This is weird." Then sensing Anko's glare, he quickly said, "Not in a bad way. In fact it looks rather killing intent this time." "Modest." "Yeah, modest, that's what I want to say." "I miss the mini skirt," Asuma grumbled, and Anko was about to kick him in the balls, but Kurenai did it for her. "I for one like the new look," Kurenai said, walking up to her friend and patting her on the back. Anko jumped back, screeching. "Heathen. What? Kurenai, have some dignity. Why doest thee dress like a whore?" "What? What she's trying to say," Asuma said, trying to nip the brewing cat fight in the bud. Alas, it was not to be. "Is that if I tripped up right now I'd probably see your vagina." Yubai Anko smirked, before throwing a kunai which narrowly missed the genjutsu specialist. The said kunoichi in fact was so furious that she did not notice how the end of her bandages had been pinned to the table, and much to her vexation and Asuma's delight, she was left naked in front of everyone as she tried to run after Anko, her bandages unraveling quickly. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX his house, using the earnings he got from the D-rank ninja corps, who had exponentially increased the civilians' happiness. Naruto decided to actually attend the etiquette, politics and strategy lessons that Hiyashi had organized for him, and after the initial headache, found himself getting into it. He spent the majority of his free time furthering the cause of the log, as well as other pursuits. Anko also spent a lot of her free time in log-related issues, but somehow she found herself deigning a lot of it to Yamato. The genial man was rather amicable, and Anko found herself enjoying his company somewhat, but she still made time to visit old friends like Hana, seeing as Kurenai had refused to talk to her since the incident at the poker game. To her surprise, Anko found her skills actually improving with her Jinan team, as honestly they mostly taught themselves, with her special motivation. Shikamaru, despite working his ass off more in 1 month than he had done in his entire 10 years of living, had had more fun in said month than the course of his young life. Although he lamented the lack of time to cloud watch, seeing as his free time was plugged up with learning the clan techniques, it was a fair trade-off, if it were only not so troublesome. He tried at least once a week to meet up with Kuji, but he was immensely sad to find the two of them drifting apart slowly, and resolved to change that. Hinata was also improving greatly, learning several fire techniques from her sensei and developing extremely effective teamwork with the other members of Team 8. She and Hanabi were on good terms, often spending free time sparring together, and while the younger Hyuga didn't stand a chance, it was good experience, and she often learnt new things. Seeing her growth, Hiyashi had also taken the time to train her a bit concerning clan jutsus. The Hyuga girl had also found an interest in the medical side of ninjutsu, but instead of finding the girl resuscitating fish, as was a custom exercise, Anko walked in to find the girl trying to deteriorate the poor thing's cells. It was twisted, but the violet-haired Jounin could see the power behind it. We now find Team 8 standing in front of the Hokage, who stared at them, chewing gum. Ever since the incident with the weed, the old man couldn't go near his pipe without shivering, and so he began to chew gum to satisfy the urges. Naruto had done him a favor, he would find out later. All right then, seeing as you have a record of. The team smirked to each other, proud that they had deceived the Hokage. My. The old man said, your clones have been busy, damn. They all thought simultaneously. 90D ranks done. Well, I think you deserve a C rank by now. The Hokage announced, pulling out a folder. Kazuna. You may come in. A gray-haired man entered, wearing a simple black tank top with a towel hung around his neck, entered. Despite not being young, he was in tip-top shape, muscles visible all over his body. He walked in, taking a long look at everyone, before taking an equally long swig of his brown sake bottle. These will be your bodyguards. The Sandaime announced, ignoring Tazuna's yelp of surprise. These? Tiny, little maggots? Anko supplied helpfully. They're more than enough to protect against some stray bandits and highwaymen, after all that's all you will be facing, right? The Sandaime said, scrutinizing the man, who gulped and turned around. All right, meet at the gates in an hour. You heard him, maggots. Get prepared and let's get this party started. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX one mentioned his tardiness as they took in his new attire. He wore a black jacket and trouser, both made of a material which didn't seem to crease without movement. They were both plain, the only decoration being white stripes here and there. Gone were the resizable combat boots which he had gotten so long ago, in its place were black standard edition but high-quality shinobi boots. A hook hung on each side of Naruto's jacket, held by a white strip of leather connected to the said jacket. A gray velvet cloth was attached to each hook, making a harness for his practice traveler's log to rest on. A thick, white cap with jet black edges hung snugly around his neck, complementing the black lower facial mask which he wore. Right above the black lining, the cape was embroidered with brown logs. Underneath the jacket, Naruto wore a plain white shirt, and underneath that he had a full body mesh suit, made of thick strands of ebonite metal. Its purpose was to spread offensive chakra, much in the way that a normal gauze spreads heat, such that an attack would not be concentrated on one area at a very high damage but instead would be a milder damaged attack spread over his body. All in all, no one could deny how badass he looked, despite the fact that they all noticed a lack of anything ninja related. "Wow, you look awesome, Naruto," Hinata said, watching her brother figure smile at the compliment. "Awesome indeed," Anko began, "but what the hell did you do with all your weapons?" Shikamaru asked, receiving a mysterious smirk in return. "I had this incorporated a week ago, and have tested it out and it works fine." Naruto began, pulling up his sleeve to show the complicated matrix of seals. He channeled chakra through it, and instantly a kunai appeared, also engraved with a seal. By again applying chakra to the seal, Naruto sent it back, demonstrating the seal again with his whip, some shuriken and a set of soldier pills, which Naruto had kept in the same dimension as the rest of the objects. That's dandy, Anko said sarcastically, but what if you had no chakra? Or if something inhibited your chakra use? Naruto quickly bit a finger, watching blood well around the quickly healing cut. He then swiped it over the seal and without a sound his whip appeared. Hinata immediately deduced that he had used the ambient chakra present in the blood to activate it and was suitably impressed. Kazuna then arrived, glancing a second at Naruto's new look before walking straight out the gates of Konoha, trusting that the ninja were behind him. So old man, Naruto began, let me tell you about the log. Kazuna whimpered, sweating profusely but not moving. He knew that if he moved just slightly, he would be neutered by the blade axe under his crotch. Take it back, Anko said, deceivingly calm. Alright. The log's not bullshit. Good boy, Anko said, making sure to leave a slight scratch as she pulled back, causing the man to yelp and run forward. The others jogged after him, watching him cross the bridge, on which there was a puddle. In broad daylight. In the middle of summer. It had not rained for 3 weeks. Anko, Shikamaru and Hinata continued, Naruto trailing behind them. Gimme a second, he shouted. A guy's gotta do what a guy's gotta do. The team feigned looks of disgust, continuing forth as Naruto unzipped his trouser and pissed on the puddle. Instantly it disappeared, replaced by 2 thoroughly urinated on demon brothers. You've got to be shitting me, Dumb said angrily. Dumber replied, this is disgusting. Before Dumb and Dumber could attack, their own shadows drew close to each other, before tying up into a knot. They shrugged, and were about to attack Naruto, who just stepped back and watched as they fell over their own, shadow. Shadow not technique, success. Alright then, vermin, Anko said ominously, licking her lips. Naruto almost felt pity for Dumb and Dumber, because they were well and truly fucked. It only took 3 minutes for Anko to extract the information she needed, as both of them didn't want to be castrated any time soon. She had a brief, threatening talk with Kazuna, before walking forth. Well, come on maggots, what are you waiting for? Aren't you supposed to consult with us whether or not we would continue? Shikamaru asked. Yeah. And I'd be all stupid and hyperactive about it? Naruto added. And I'd just come along because Naruto's coming? Ianta continued. Anko stared at them, before laughing. PFF maggots, since when did your opinions count? She laughing, chuckling as she walked on. Something's wrong. Anko thought as she entered the wide clearing. Oh my log duck, she shouted, pulling Kazuna down. A huge sword slammed into the tree, digging in almost a foot. Team 8 rolled away, dragging Kazuna with them as they saw the person on it. Naruto's eyes flickered red. You. Just give me the old moth whack, did the tree just fucking slap me? Zabuza said angrily, cradling his cheek. Heathen log mutilator. Anko and Naruto shouted simultaneously, while Shikamaru and Hinata just guarded Kazuna. It's just a tree, Zabuza said, jumping off and narrowly evading where the tree tried to nut him. Just a tree? Naruto shouted, struggling to keep back the Kyuubi's influence. I'll kill you. He screamed with Anko, both taking weapons out simultaneously and charging the bandaged man. Zabuza couldn't pull out his Zanbatsu in time, Anko nearly cleaving his hand off with her dagger axes as he neared it. He barrel rolled to the side, just avoiding a deadly strike from the boy's whip, but found himself back flipping away from spikes of razor-sharp wood which chased him, emerging from the ground to attack him. Snakes flew out of Anko's sleeve, nearly biting the missing nin, who ran through some hand seals. Miss Jutsu, he shouted, blanketing the area in a thick layer of fog. Anko and Naruto stood back to back, waiting for the man to do something, while Hinata's Byakugan pulsed wildly as she looked for the man. The art of silent kill. Zabuza began, proud he had begun his dramatic tirade, but ball of wood emerged from nowhere, exploding right in front of Zabuza's crotch. Mimicking Shikamaru, Naruto lazily smirked. Shotgun no jutsu, success. He then made a clone to begin siphoning out water chakra from the mist, and surely but slowly it began to thin as Naruto and Anko resumed their fight with the missing nin. Anko. 1,000 bullets technique, Naruto shouted, creating, literally, 1,000 appleseed-sized bullets. Zabuza, who had been sneakily walking to his Zanbatsu, suddenly found himself bound to the tree, helplessly hearing Anko intone her own jutsu. Great fireball technique, Anko shouted, sending it right after the bullets of air, each of which became a concentrated inferno of blazing bullets. Zabuza prayed for a godsend, and as if on cue, a solid wall of ice appeared in front of him. He was however very disturbed to find that the duo's combination attack had partially melted his assistant's shield, something no ninja had ever done. Anko and Naruto ran forth, but by the time they passed the mirror, Zabuza had disappeared, as had his blade. "Know this heretic," Naruto shouted. "We will find you and when we do," Naruto growled. Zabuza, flitting around trees with Haku, suddenly shivered as he heard the most terrifying voiceover. "We will kill you." Hinata suppressed a shiver. The combination of Anko's killing intent with the QB influence created a rather devastating combo. Nevertheless, the group made their way to Tazuna's house, the said bridge builder vowing to never, ever cross the crazy purple-haired woman and the crazier blonde no log-related matters. Thank God he had made his bridge out of cement. Elsewhere. Zabuza lay in the bed, resting, but not too badly beat up, since he had been on the defensive the entire time and the gruesome twosome had not fully got into the battle before he had to be rescued. He was however suffering from chakra exhaustion, as while Naruto had been sucking chakra from the mist, he had been continuously trying to replace it. With that in mind, Haku sat next to him, offering him herbal tea which was supposed to speed his recovery. Suddenly the door slammed open, the fat slimy Gato walking in, a samurai at each of his wide sides. "I heard you failed. You're not a demon. You're a baby." The man ended the sentence with a squeal, staring at the icy tentacles which had grabbed his undersized balls. "Get out. Before I neuter you," Haku said, watching as the man left. "Zabuza, I'm going to pick some herbs." The man just grunted, watching as the feminine boy left. Anko, I'm going to go train a bit, Naruto said as he walked out the door, staring at the duo who were walking in the other direction. Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, had quickly welcomed them, providing them rooms and a hot meal, and best of all, a hot shower. Hinata was fishing, wanting something to practice her med-nin skills on, while Anko and Shikamaru were partaking in some one-on-one training. "All right, maggot." Naruto walked into the forest, the 6x weight multiplication weighing on his limbs. Anko had decided that they were all moving too easily, bumping Shikamaru and Hinata's weight levels to 4, and Naruto's to 6. Naruto did not like having a mass of 366 kilograms, he almost felt sorry for the daimyo's wife. Was this what she had to put up with since she was a kid? Despite that, as he reached a clearing, he summoned half a dozen clones of different types, facing them. "All right," Naruto said, smirking, "maggots. Let's spar, no jutsu, just taijutsu and weapons." The 6 clones shared a glance, before turning to their creator. Naruto shifted into the Tokuken style, planning an attack strategy as he ducked from a clone's kick. He blocked a whip strike, using chakra to reinforce the area where it hit, jumping over a low kick as he did so. While in the air, Naruto switched to the flash fist style, dodging the 5 or so kunai thrown at him. He landed a few meters away, taunting his clones. Naruto blocked the first one which punched, slamming 2 palms in said clone's stomach and finishing with a vicious uppercut which dispersed said clone. Naruto found himself in the face of his doppelganger's whip, but he swiftly pulled out his own kunai, blocking the attack and sending a quick double roundhouse to the clone, watching as the wood melted into the ground. The blonde suddenly got a far-off look in his eyes, as if staring at something behind the clones. "Look, ramen." "Where?" they all shouted, turning around. Naruto, adeptly wielding his double wakizashi, beheaded one clone while stabbing the other in the gut at the same time. The last clone realized his ruse too late, turning around just in time to get a face full of log, Naruto having pulled it off his waist to attack. He strapped the log back to his waist, sending a brief prayer to the great log, before turning around. He found himself face to face with what seemed to be a silky, black-haired girl, but from the vibe of his chakra, he knew the feminine person was a boy. "Greetings," the femboy said. "Hi there," Naruto said, puzzling something out beneath the facade. He had felt this person's chakra before. "I'm Naruto," the blonde said, extending a hand. The other boy grasped it, shaking it and introducing himself to be Haku. "What are you doing here?" Naruto asked. "I'm collecting herbs for a precious person," Haku replied, pulling what had seemed to be an ugly weed to Naruto out of the ground. Do you have a precious person? Yes. But I have something much more precious than any human being, Naruto said reverently, stars in his eyes. Oh? Haku said. When you fight for a precious person, you can defeat anything. Love is an odd phenomenon. It turns the mightiest warrior into a shivering mess, but can transform a shivering mess into a mighty warrior. Silence reigned in the clearing for a second, Haku smiling serenely, believing he had touched the blonde emotionally. Lamb, Naruto said, yawning. The log is with us all the time. It will never backstab you, it won't hurt you, it won't abandon you, and it would always protect you. Really? Haku asked, genuinely wanting to know about the log. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX purpose, and with that in mind, he took a copy of the book from Naruto, who vowed to meet him again someday. The feminine boy left the clearing without further incident. After a few minutes meditating, Naruto opened the forbidden scroll. He had made quite a bit of headway, learning half a dozen jutsu from the scroll in the past month. Keep in mind that he had very little free time, and could not show the scroll to anyone. Alright then. Oh, what's this? Flash fist, no jutsu? Interesting. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX displeasure at him fraternizing with the enemy was far outweighed by her euphoria at another logist. She did however scold him, before she walked with him to go eat. They thanked the log for the blessing, asking it to forgive Tsunami for the blasphemous wooden table and plates. Tsunami, seeing as she was serving ninja, had expected the meal to pass with a solemn attitude, but she found herself enjoying it much more than usual, sharing jokes and past experiences with the team in front of her. The moment was shattered when Inari came in however. "You fools! I don't see why you try, Gato will just pwn you," Inari shouted. "There's no use. You will just get owned." "What?" Naruto asked, not understanding the terminology. "Gato is Haxer," he shouted, tears streaming down his face. "He will kill you all." The boy then ran upstairs, before Tsunami related to them what had happened to Keiza, who had adopted the boy and also become quite close to Tsunami, before being burnt in public for showing opposition to Gato. Naruto summoned 2 clones, bidding them to help the raven-haired mother with the cleaning up, before walking up to the small boy. "XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX, you miss him, don't you?" Naruto asked, sitting down silently next to the boy. The sunset cast a cascade of golds and crimsons over the sky, seemingly fitting for the sad mood. "What do you know?" Inari said derisively, sniffing a tear. "I know a lot of pain and suffering. I had no purpose until the log saved me." "The log?" XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. 10 minutes later, Hinata heard what she had been dreading. She almost dropped the plate she was cleaning when she heard Inari's squeaky voice shout, "All hail the log!" XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. The next day, Naruto sent 3 dozen clones to help Tazuna build the bridge. While he had been talking to Inari, he had secretly checked if the boy had the potential to become a ninja, and surprisingly he did. It took a lot of begging and pleading, but eventually the blonde managed to convince Tsunami, which is how we now find Inari and Naruto face to face in the forest. "Excellent," Naruto said proudly, watching the boy levitate the leaf. He quickly turned him to tree walking. "Well, I guess tree walking is unsuitable, since the boy was currently attempting to walk up a smooth, plastic tower. It was actually harder than using a tree, since the tree facilitated more friction." Meanwhile, 10 Narutos were all busily writing on scrolls of rice paper. Naruto knew he'd be here perhaps a week and a half, tops, but he wanted to leave the child a gift. Deeper in the forest, another 50 clones practiced the jutsu from the forbidden scroll. Inari had a natural flair for chakra control, mastering tree walking in little under half an hour. 2 hours passed, by the end of which Inari had mastered every exercise Naruto could think of, so he began to teach the child taijutsu. The young child seemed to like the tiger style, attaching the 3 senbon on either hand with chakra as he began to go through the movements. Each time Naruto taught the boy something, he would feel an inexplicably good and proud feeling. Sure, he had taught Hanabi some jutsus, as well as Hinata and even Anko 1 or 2, but he had never really molded a future ninja. A week passed, Naruto spending the majority of the time teaching Inari. Due to the 2 of them staying up late each day training, they would usually wake up equally late, and on this specific day Inari woke up to find that Team 8 were all at the bridge protecting his grandfather. At first he was grateful someone was protecting the old man, but suddenly a scream shattered the happiness. "Mother!" he thought frantically. He was about to run to her, when he remembered Naruto's words. "Never rush in, for the log disapproves of barbaric brutes. Inari slowly tiptoed downstairs, finding Tsunami outside being held by 2 samurai. He thought quickly, knowing that his skills would not be enough for a head-on battle. He carefully went by the back exit, pulling out a fistful of grass, his only weapon, and slowly circled the house. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. The mist was heavily clouding the bridge, but half a dozen Naruto clones rapidly cleared it up, gaining chakra in the process. This time, you stupid zealots will not get away, Zabuza shouted, hefting his Kubikiri Hauchi. He rushed in, aiming to cleave Anko in half, but with surprising strength she countered, blocking with the dagger axe. Naruto summoned a dozen clones, sending them to Tazuna, while the original closed in on Zabuza's masked ally, Hinata close behind, while Shikamaru helped Anko from afar. Anko was strong, but she could not handle an A-rank ninja herself. Well, she could, but she'd most likely die in the process of killing him. However, Shikamaru backed her up from afar. Anko dodged the kick, attempting to chop off Zabuza's arm. The attempt failed, Zabuza jumping back. He threw his blade in the air, using his free hands to run through some hand seals. Anko narrowly dodged the ball of water which tried to trap her, Zabuza grunting as he made to catch his sword. His fist closed around thin air, and he looked around frantically, finding the pineapple-haired boy leaning on it lazily, having captured it with his shadow. The A-rank nin growled angrily, pulling out a kunai. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX drawing on one of his chakra control exercises and strengthening and hardening it to make it resemble a senbone. Over the course of the week they also learnt that Inari was an excellent aimer, mostly from throwing darts at Gato's face. He peeked round the corner, pulled back the strengthened grass strand and threw it as hard as he could. The grass strand dug deep into the samurai's neck, fortunately for the young boy, knocking him out cold. The other samurai yelped in surprise. "Gomi," he shouted, before searching for the source of the attack, dragging Tsunami around the corner with him. He searched around but found nothing, growling angrily. "I know you're there," he shouted, dragging Tsunami by the ear as he walked. Come out. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX sidestepped Naruto's drop kick, but that resulted in him losing all feeling in his right arm as Hinata jabbed many tenketsu. Good thing he could do one-handed seals. He jumped back, quickly running through seals. 1,000 ice needles, he murmured, water in the air condensing and freezing, surrounding Naruto and Hinata in all directions. Hinata, combo attack 4, Naruto said, quickly spinning wind chakra around the both of them. Hinata then flipped through some seals. Flame palm technique, she murmured, slamming her right hand into the dome of wind, which quickly became a tornado of fire, surrounding them. They were licked by the flames, but were protected by Hinata's layer of protective chakra. Outside, the needles all simultaneously slammed into the flaming dome, subliming instantly due to the heat. Naruto utilized the hot steam, flipping through hand seals to make a dozen balls of boiling hot water, which the masked boy barely dodged. The said boy then flipped through more hand seals, creating a dome of ice slabs around the two. Here, I am in my domain, but I will not kill you, Haku said, emerging from a mirror. Naruto smirked, quoting his holy book. O ye log worshippers, be brethren. He walked up to the boy, hugging him fiercely. Blessings of the log upon you, Naruto exclaimed. Hinata just sighed. Zabuza found himself in a tricky situation, immobilized by the boy's shadow techniques and just 1 inch from being neutered by a vicious, green snake. Oh, what a scene! A slimy voice shouted, both a blessing and a curse for the missing nin. You missing nin cost too much, he shouted, surrounded by over 150 men. And since all you ninja are tired out from your battle, I'll just kill you all. Zabuza glanced at Anko, who was wondering whether to release man or not. Did I tell you that Gato has an illegal log shipping company, decapitating entire forests of trees every day? Zabuza flinched at the killing intent, but was distracted as the ice dome suddenly shattered, Naruto standing behind it angrily. What did you just say? Inari sat on the balcony, pondering his next move when a mouse scurrying to the side distracted him. And gave him an idea. The samurai had stopped moving, but his head snapped towards the sound of the rock as it hit the floor. Another rock in another direction had him moving, searching for the culprit. Dragging Tsunami with him, he peered around the corner. Ding! The sound of the pan reverberating on the samurai's head was music to the young boy's ears, and as he was reunited with his mother all felt safe again. Inari. I'm so proud of you, Tsunami murmured, ruffling his hair and relieving him of the pan as she hugged the boy. Mom. Inari could only say, before a gurgling sound from the half-unconscious samurai drew their attention. Deftly wielding the pan, Tsunami whacked him again, giving him a bruise worthy of Tom and Jerry. Shikamaru released Zabuza, you know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Anko and Naruto walked forward slowly, Hinata, Shikamaru and Zabuza all slowly making their way backwards. The log frowned upon needless bloodshed, and that was the only thing preventing the would-be bloodbath of everything in front of the duo. It became a trio as Haku joined them angrily, 2 daggers of ice in either hand. For your crimes against the log, Gato. Haku began. We will not kill you, Anko said, before smirking sadistically. You will suffer a much, much worse fate, Naruto said, laughing evilly. Whoever brings their heads will be paid quadruple, Gato shouted, watching as his men cheered. Naruto just laughed, activating a jutsu with no noticeable effect. Anko heard him murmur flash fist. Wasn't that a taijutsu style, not a ninjutsu? She quickly saw what Naruto was doing, his palms a blur. Naruto slammed his palm into the stomach of the first bandit, bringing his left hand in front of the man's face and releasing chakra for the flash fist technique. A burst of light left the man screaming, blinded. As if on cue, all the men charged, Haku and Anko attacking simultaneously. The 3 log worshippers decimated the crowd, leaving them all alive but unconscious. Gato had began to run, but the 3 caught up with him. He couldn't even try to blind them before Anko and Naruto both wove a genjutsu on him. Anko's made him feel and see as if he were stuck in an empty concert room, strapped to the chair, but that wasn't the devastating part. Naruto's end of the torture began, and Gato began to scream as he heard what Naruto's horrid genjutsu was doing. You get the best of both worlds, chill it out, take it slow, then you rock out the show. And no. I'm sorry, make it stop. Gato began screaming. Mix it all together and you know that it's the best of both worlds. Make it go away. Oh God, no. Please. The best of both worlds. 2 hours later it's a party in Konoha. Thanks everybody. By the end of the 2 hours torture, Gato was a blubbering mess, his personality locked deep inside his brain to protect his sanity. As if that had worked. Hinata looked at the log worshippers, knowing exactly what they had done, and she felt sorry for the poor man. Kazuna asked her what they had done to make him scream like that for 2 hours non-stop, having stayed the whole time with popcorn. When Hinata whispered in his ears exactly what they did, he shivered violently. Why, you're brutal, he said, pointing accusingly at the trio standing in front of him. Anko just smirked. Never cross the log. Ino, you're bleeding. The blonde-haired woman exclaimed, rushing to her exhausted daughter. Blood caked her fists, lending to the overall rather scruffy and worn-out look of the dirt-covered Ino in ripped clothing. Every day for 3 weeks the same routine had repeated over and over. It had taken a week for the shock of Sasuke's original rant to wear off, but soon it was replaced with a fierce determination. No longer would Ino wait 3 hours in the morning for her sensei to arrive, scheming of ways to make Sasuke fall for her. No, the only falling Sasuke would do would be face flat on the ground in a vicious sparring match. Don't be mistaken, he was still the love of her life, but love comes in many ways, and Ino was going to deliver hers with lots of sweat and blood. While Kijotane had opposed her daughter's tough training, Inoiki had been proud that she was finally taking the shinobi world seriously, even spending some time to teach her himself. However, the said blonde man was not present this time to high-five his daughter for her excellent attitude. He was busy elsewhere. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX throned samurai with some grass and a frying pan. Team 8 sat with Inari on the table, eating lunch silently, screams of pain entertaining the background. Anko was busy, extracting relevant information from the samurai, while Haku was upstairs reading the holy book of log. Somehow, Tazuna had convinced Zabuza to help finish the last parts of the bridge, leaving Team 8 at home. The first day after the death of Gato had been non-stop celebrations, confusing the young blonde. How on earth did you be poor one day, scrounging for the slightest hint of wine, and popping bottles the next? Despite the celebrative mood, Inari had instead trained with Naruto, knowing he would lose his teacher for quite some time. After the meal, Shikamaru pulled out a shogi board, playing with Hinata in the cool breeze of the forest while Naruto trained, beat the hell out of Inari. Several hours later, smelling of soap and fresh shower water, the 3 males and 1 female were relaxing in Tazuna's garden when Anko called for a meeting. Inari reluctantly stayed in the garden while the rest of Team 8 met Haku, Zabuza, Anko and Tazuna in the kitchen. Tsunami served them all cups of tea before leaving to chat with Inari. "All right then," Anko said, sipping her tea. "We need to decide what to do with Haku and Zabuza." The two of them were about to protest, but Anko continued, "We can either leave them be, most likely never see them again. Or, actually Anko-san, I would like to join my fellow log worshippers in Konoha," Haku announced, drawing a huge smile and a pat on the back from Naruto. Anko considered it for a moment. Haku had a strong bloodline and potential for greatness, and just that would be enough to get the elders at the council orgasmically hyperventilating. But what about Zabuza? Shikamaru asked, looking at the bandaged man. "PFF," he snorted. "I'm not going to Konoha." Haku was torn for a bit. He had discovered the log and did not want to lose his new friends, and was also sick of life on the run, but he didn't want to abandon Zabuza anytime soon. "Haku," Zabuza began. "I know you've discovered the log, do not want to lose your new friends and have been sick of life on the run, but don't want to abandon me, am I that obvious?" Haku thought incredulously. "But I think you should go to Konoha. You can start a new life there, be with your log worshippers, perhaps find a girlfriend." "But what about you?" Haku asked. "Well, I have an idea," Shikamaru muttered. Tsunami had long left Inari to stare at the stars, but the boy was broken out of his reverie when he was dragged onto his feet by a rough hand. He found himself face to face with a growling, bandaged face, but refused to show emotion. "All right, kid. Time to get you a Zanbatsu." Inari had a bad feeling about this. They are becoming a powerful faction here in Konoha and we cannot allow such division in our ranks, Homura exclaimed. "Powerful faction?" The Hokage snorted. "Honestly, it is a small religious group of merely 4 people at the moment. How is that a powerful faction? Have you not felt the havoc they are wreaking on us?" Koharu replied. "Just yesterday a Jounin was found tied upside down by his testicles, 2 inches from a pit of snakes. We should exile them," a council member stated angrily. "So you propose to exile my daughter, one of the top Jounin, our second most skilled interrogation shinobi and a friend of the Hyuga?" Hyashi said, borderline angry. "Exactly my point. Further discussion is intolerable," Sarutobi announced. "In fact, it's pathetic we were called for a meeting for this. Apologies to those who actually have things to do." Most of the clan heads nodded in appreciation, leaving. "I'll get you, you bastard log worshippers." Danzo screamed inwardly, old furies coming to surface. The next day, Team 8, plus Haku, left for Konoha. "What shall we name it?" a citizen asked as they faded into the distance. "How about the Great Bridge of Wave?" Tazuna suggested. "No," Inari shouted. "We shall name it the Bridge of Log." "What?" the citizens asked, confused. Tsunami face-palmed, watching as the chaos unfolded. "And the willow saith unto the ninja," Inari began quoting, watching as the crowd hushed in silence. "Wherefore dost I weep? 'Tis tears of joy, as thy kin and mine together fell thine foes, who would bring the axe and torch to the wood. The log is thine ally, and mine kin. Calling upon the log, is to call upon me. To aid thee in battle, I weep my tear of joy. And the ninja spoke, Yea, thee and thine kin shall forever be blessed among me and mine kin. For thine bravery will never be forgotten." A stunned silence followed, before the crowd erupted in chatter. By the end of the day, Inari was sitting in a circle with 10 other citizens, teaching them of the log and praying together. It took 2 days of flitting through trees to get to Konoha, whence the team instantly went to shower then briefed the Hokage on what happened. "Great job Team 8, the Hokage praised. "Now, Haku was it?" "Yes sir. Why do you wish to join Konoha?" "The log approves of brethren sticking together." The Hokage sighed. "All right then, could you give me a quick demonstration of your abilities?" The tea the Sandaime had been drinking instantly froze, before rising up and sculpting itself into the shape of the log. "All right then, Team 8, you may leave. Now, Haku. Later I'll be having a meeting with the council, at which point I'd like you to. It wasn't long before Haku was cleared for duty, given an apartment and sent on his way. However, Naruto and Anko were enraged to find that the bigots on the council had decided to make Haku a Jonin and make him be a single-man team. They had not wanted to make him a Chonin, even though upon being tested by Tsume he was stated to be low Jounin level. Seeing as he was so talented, He should be able to ace a Chunin exam solo, right? After a long session of log meditation, at which point Haku was introduced to Yamato and Hanabi, who were given details of what occurred, Team 8 were sitting idly on a field, waiting for their sensei. Haku was also waiting, having decided to stick around with Team 8. Anko arrived soon afterwards, but she was not alone, Asuma being dragged close behind. Alright team, I'd like to introduce you to Haku's sensei, Asuma. Log's blessing upon you, Naruto and Haku intoned simultaneously, while Hinata and Shikamaru stuck to more common greetings. Alright kiddo, Asuma began. I'm gonna have a one-on-one spar with you to test your abilities, if that's alright. Sure, Haku replied, jumping far away from Team 8 so as to have some space. Wait. Let's make this more interesting, Anko shouted after them. Me, Asuma and Shikamaru against you three maggots. Naruto smirked, sharing a glance with Hinata, while Shikamaru groaned. The two sides faced off, beginning at some unspoken start. Naruto threw two kunai at Shikamaru, before creating a wooden torch. Shikamaru groaned as it lit up brightly with one of Naruto's camping jutsus, realizing his shadow abilities would be mostly useless. Seeing as he wouldn't be using Cage Main or any derivations, he quickly summoned three darkness clones, closing in on Hinata. Anko meanwhile found herself face to face with Haku, batting away Senbone with her blade axe as she ran forth to him. She began a fierce battle of taijutsu and kenjutsu with the teen, who with an almost feminine grace easily dodged and counterattacked. Asuma found himself facing the blonde boy, dodging Makuten attacks as he closed in. The black-haired man pulled out trench knives, surrounding them with wind-based chakra as he attacked. The blonde seemed to see through his trick though, dodging that little bit extra to avoid the deadly chakra blade, before counterattacking himself with his whip. Asuma dodged, watching as the whip morphed into two wakizashis as Naruto pulled it back. The spar lasted nearly 2 hours, fighters switching opponents as they fought. Asuma is rather impressed with everyone, especially the blonde child and his own Jinan teammate. Alright maggots, Anko shouted, calling everyone close. The Chunin exams are coming up and you're entering. Aren't you going to ask us if we want to? Hinata asked. Yeah, where I'd instantly jump to the chance of proving myself. Naruto asked. And I'd come along even though it's really troublesome? Shikamaru added. And I'd come because they're coming? Hinata finished. Anko had no idea where they got these crazy ideas from, but laughed nonetheless. Fine, do you want to enter? Well duh. They all replied, taking the forms and filling it in. Now Haku. Asuma started. From your abilities I think you'd be able to enter and have a solid chance at winning. Furthermore, if you stuck around with Team 8, you could work together to help accomplish each other's goals. Haku quickly signed the form, thus becoming the first one-man team to ever enter the Chunin exams. Oh well. The log would protect him, right? Kakashi stared proudly at his students, hiding it behind his mask and his book. Sakura had just learned her 5th genjutsu, Ino was butchering a training dummy with a Nadachi and Sasuke was practicing a fire jutsu. After the girls' transformations nearly a month ago, the team had got on much better. He wouldn't lie and say they had perfect teamwork, but they were performing excellently compared to what he called the pre-Sasuke PMS days. With that in mind, he went up to them and offered them a chance to be in the Chunin exams. Kiba, Shino and Kuji stood waiting for their sensei to finish talking about the responsibilities and difficulties of the Chunin exam, but the three of them were all eager to enter and without a doubt they signed and stamped their forms. I, Jounin and Mitarashi Anko, nominate my Jinan team of Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata and Nara Shikamaru for the Chunin exams. The proud log worshipper handed her forms in, before standing at the rear of the Hokage office. I, Jounin Hatake Kakashi, nominate my Jinan team of Uchiha Sasuke, Yamanaka Ino and Haruno Sakura for the Chunin exams. The lazy man also handed in his forms, not staying around for the rest of the entries. I, Jounin Sarutobi Asuma, nominate my Jinan team of Haku for the Chunin exams. The man felt odd nominating a single Jinan, but nevertheless he gave in his forms. With a curious glance towards Asuma, Kurenai also began to speak. I, Yuhi Kurenai, nominate my Jinan team of Aburame Shino, Akimichi Kuji and Inuzuka Kiba for the Chunin exams. The Hokage began to fill in the appropriate paperwork, chewing gum as he signed the paper. Naruto was strolling down the street when he heard a strangled yelp from a nearby alley. He quickly jumped in, finding a small child held upside down in the air by a hand of sand. They are not testes, the red-haired boy controlling the sound said monotonously. It is a gourd. Take it back. Oh my log, Naruto shouted, put that poor child down. Tentacles of wood snaked out to the boy, and oddly as soon as they touched the sand, Gaara would seemingly lose control of the sand. He was awed and slightly worried that someone could disable him so quickly. Perhaps this person could show him his purpose. The log frowns upon murder, Naruto said as more tentacles of wood disabled more and more sand. Why doest thee spill the blood of thy brethren? Is this not a perversion of the log's protection unto man? The blonde quoted, piquing his audience's interest. Tell me more, the brown-haired child whom he had recently rescued begged. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX 2 hours later. All hail the log, protector of protectors. Konohamaru hailed. You are fools. Your log is but a mockery of the power of ninja, Gaara declared. The two in front of him shook their heads pitifully. You have been denied the log for a long time, Sandwalker. Naruto replied, sadly. We cannot force you to see the glory of the log, but know this. When the time comes, and you have no other allies to call upon, the log will hear your prayers, and aid you. Gaara grunted, turning to walk off as he said, you will fulfill mother's lust for blood. Log war. He was interrupted as his sand caught a flying black object, fine grains of the yellow material opening it to reveal it as the holy book of log. Food for thought, Sandwalker, Naruto said, walking off with his new disciple. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX immediately veered to the left, going up another flight of stairs, his teammates close behind. He walked into a large room filled with countless teams of ninja, but the most annoying was the bright blonde towards the left side of the room conversing with his teammates. "Humph, Dobie," he said as he walked towards them. "This test isn't for amateurs, go home." "The log's curses upon you," Naruto spat. "Besides, you're one to talk, you have no hope passing the Chunin exams if you couldn't even get through Jinan." "Shut up, Baka," Sakura screeched. "We're better than that now." "Yeah, Naruto," Shikamaru said dryly. "Sasuke is so skilled that the only blood he could get on himself would be that of his enemies." "Damn right," Sasuke said. "Or from in between his legs." Hinata finished. Sasuke let off a breathless squawk, and was about to retaliate before the doors shut with a loud clang. "Hinata, head count?" Anyone late was screwed by now, but a quick scan of surroundings showed Hinata what was up. 27 Konohan teams, 1 sound team, 2 grass teams, a mist team, 9 sand teams, 7 rain teams and 2 waterfall teams. That's discluding Haku-kun, making a full 153 candidates. "All right, maggots." A manly voice shouted, scarily resembling Anko in the way he held himself and, apparently, spoke. "Whoever's not in this room with their scrawny asses planted on a chair within the next 20 seconds will be disqualified." The team scrambled into the room in a disorganized rush, the unfortunate mist team actually being disqualified due to missing the 20 seconds mark. The proctor then began to hand out test papers in an agonizingly slow manner as he explained the rules. "Each of you worthless bugs have 10 questions and 100 minutes to answer them. Each candidate has 10 points, and if you are caught cheating you lose 2 points. If any single member of your team reaches 0 points, then you're disqualified." Immediately a blonde San Kunoichi spoke up. "There are only 9 questions because the 10th will be given after the time finishes. Speaking of which, you have 42 minutes left." With a gasp of outrage, they all started to work. However, they all turned to the proctor, confused. "This paper's screwed up," Kiba shouted, displaying his paper. He attempted to write in pen, only for the ink to dribble down the paper and drip off the side, as if it was made of plastic. He then tried pencil but the graphite just flew off in an explosion of gray sparkling dust as the pencil touched the paper. Instantly Aviki homed into the blonde boy, whose hands were held in an odd seal. The scarred proctor walked up to the boy, pulling his hands apart. Instantly, residues of blue ink were absorbed into Kiba's paper. "This is blasphemous," Naruto shouted. "How would you like it if someone mutilated you into pieces, sat on other pieces of your body and wrote on your testicles?" Aviki flinched as was about to convince the boy to let the exam continue when suddenly all the papers dissolved into nothingness. The Jinan in the room let off shouts of protests, but the door opened, revealing several Chunin carrying stacks of tests printed on rice paper. As they were given out, one man handed Aviki a note. "Dear Aviki-kun, read the Hokage's elegant writing. I forgot to inform you of possible sabotage if use of log paper is prominent. Do not fret however, the desks are metal." The man groaned. The test was 10 minutes late because of one stubborn child, but nevertheless, He shouted some more and began the test. Naruto began to read the exam, before stifling a gasp. He knew it would be hard, but this was impossible. Explain in detail, using examples and diagrams, he read, the inner workings of a female mind. Your answer should be essay length. With a barely perceptible growl, Naruto began to write. The first and most important thing to take into account when concerned with the workings of the female mind is the volatile and dangerous phenomenon called PMS. While some are under the delusion of believing this stands for premenstrual stress, it has been proven that it actually means punch men senseless. Naruto ran out of things to say by the 6th paragraph, as he found himself going in senseless circles, contradicting himself and often rambling on about things of no relevance, in other words, an accurate depiction of what the question required. However, the rest of the questions were too hard to answer, and though he had given a valiant, if hopeless, attempt at the first question, he'd have to do what was obviously the intention of the exam, cheat. It was so simple. He could see Sasuke close by, possessed by Ino, who was writing the answers for him. He felt out for the wood from which his pencil was made, offering a prayer of forgiveness to the great log. As his chakra touched the object, he immediately got an accurate feel of what Sasuke was writing. With a smirk, he also began to write. Shikamaru was unable to think of a way till Hinata tapped her pencil a couple of desks away. He immediately caught on to her plan, his shadow taking a long and convoluted route to her desk so as to keep out of sight from the proctors. His shadow was hiding in the shadows, so to speak. As soon as it reached Hinata, he relaxed, allowing her to control him instead. As his hand wrote the words over the paper, he allowed himself a small smile. Haku had at first worried, but seeing an ingenious Konoha duo using mirrors to communicate answers, he set up a small block of ice over his hand. After some careful maneuvering, he caught the light of the bun-haired girl's mirror, and with a smirk he quickly began to copy. Ibiki was kicking teams out left and right, and though the puppet boy's rouse had been obvious, he let it pass. The man could have punished the teen, he decided to let the log-worshipping blonde do so in his stead. It would be just that much tastier and popcorn-worthy. The hour and 40 minutes couldn't have ended quick enough, and as an ominous gong rung, he scanned around. It seemed that approximately 110 candidates were left. All right, the 10th question, but be warned. Failure to answer this question will ban you from ever becoming a chunin. Ever, Ibiki said, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Immediately the room erupted in angry shouts. What? How can you do this? The dog boy shouted angrily. This is my exam, and while here you play by my rules and I am God. The log is, infidel. Ibiki ignored the shout, preferring to let the room sweat. Any who wished to save their sorry carcasses should leave now. Several teams began to leave. I can't take this. Sorry Asami, Shior. A grass Janan stuttered, leaving the room. The ninja named Shior let off a positively terrifying killing intent, leaving the room dead set after her soon dead teammate. Soon only 26 teams remained, leaving Ibiki with the task of announcing the pass of those present and deal with the resultant noise. However, he didn't get a chance as a purple blur smashed through the window, landing to reveal Anko. What are you doing here, Anko? You're a Jounin sensei, you're not even legible to be a proctor. I know, she stated simply, scanning the remnants of the teams. So, why in the name of Kami's breast did you do that? I felt like it. But you interrupted my dramatic climactic speech. Ibiki replied monotonously. Oh, stop bitching, I'm sure no one here wanted to hear it, the violet-haired lady replied carelessly. Teammate just smirked at their sensei's antics. Blah da blah, you pass, shut the fuck up and get to training ground 37 before I skin your asses with a spoon. That combined with a bit of killer intent was enough to get 90% of the teams moving, the exception of course being Team 8 and Gaara's team, and few other individuals such as Sasuke. They all followed the purple-haired Jounin, who led them to another building surprisingly, where Gecko Hayate awaited them. All right, prospective Chunin, he said, drawing their attention from the examination of the stark white rooms. You will be placed under a genjutsu and under the effects of specific machinery to monitor your activity as you are placed in a combat simulation program, via said genjutsu. That was all he said, before he picked 2 random teams, sending each to a specific room while Anko helped with preparation. Technically she wasn't a proctor, but no one else was willing and or free to help. Around 10 minutes later, one team exited the building while the other went to a specific waiting area. Sasuke's team was soon in, pitted versus a sand team, but soon Sasuke, followed by Ino and Sakura, emerged, heading towards the waiting area. Gaara's team emerged victorious in little under 3 minutes, and soon Naruto found himself being led in with Hinata and Shikamaru close behind. They entered a similarly decorated, or lack of, so to speak, room, split into 3 segments. Wires and various gizmos were strapped to their bodies, each team member in a separate segment. Gecko quickly began to explain. Alright, you will be pitted against a rain team. They will have a scroll which you must get. If you don't get the scroll in 10 minutes, they win. He then applied chakra to a vast genjutsu seal under each candidate's feet, causing them to fall in a coma-like state. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX discussing how to use the various landmarks and objects to help attack the fort up ahead. They discussed for a quick 10 seconds, before rushing forth. Shikamaru split off, leaving Naruto and Hinata to scale the stone walls using chakra. They soon arrived at the top, both instantly dodging the hail of kunai which attacked them, courtesy of a trap. The inside of the fort was surprisingly simple, consisting of a single large building, seemingly a dojo, and a large pool of water in front of it. The two of them jumped down, Naruto already flipping through hand seals. As he uttered the name of a jutsu, a large amount of clones appeared, numbering to about 300. They all ran forth, seemingly with no plan, but that was not the case. The clones would easily disperse on one hit, which is what inspired Naruto's pseudo-combination jutsu. Each clone flipped through 3 seals as they approached the building, activating a simple fire jutsu. As soon as a clone got within destruction range, it turned the jutsu on itself. While this would technically be useless with shadow clones, it was an effective tactic when used with the wind clones. Each explosion of wind was augmented by the fire, creating mini bombs of fiery destruction. The rain team rolled out the entrance, coughing from the heavy smoke and flames, finding themselves facing the two Jinan. "Ha," one said, holding an umbrella. "You don't stand a chance." He threw his umbrella in the air as Naruto and Hinata neared, hundreds upon hundreds of senbon being released. However, they were scattered as Hinata instinctively used a kaiden, the glowing blue chakra protecting herself and Naruto. The rain team waited, ready to attack as soon as the blue chakra disappeared, but they had no chance. 2 logs appeared from nowhere, flying towards the team, and with loud thumps and exponentially louder moans, the 2 male members of the rain team fell, hands holding their pained crotch. The last female member laughed haughtily. "Such dirty tricks will not work on M." To Hinata's amusement, a log between the legs also had the female member on the floor crying. Shikamaru then arrived, emerging from the ruins of the building with a slightly charred paper, on which there was the kanji of release. He activated it, thus releasing the genjutsu. Good job, Gecko applauded. With a record timing of 2 minutes, you passed to the next stage. Good luck. XXXXXXXXXXX Haku was pitted against the other rain team, whom he vanquished easily, seeing as all their water-based jutsu were simply frozen by him, and that he outclassed them in all other areas. He swiftly joined his friends in the waiting area, where Team 8 were in a corner by themselves, Sasuke and company trademark glaring at their backs. "Haku. The log has truly blessed thee. Ye, for if it was not the log's intent for me to emerge victoriously, I would surely have been vanquished." "Hey to you too, Haku," Hinata said lightly. "Oh, blessings of the log upon you, Hinata, Shikamaru. You think you can win, Dobi?" Sasuke sneered, Ino and Sakura right next to him. "If the log wills so," Naruto replied serenely, annoying Sasuke with his calm. "Don't be so naive. The Easter Bunny doesn't exist, the Tooth Fairy doesn't exist, and the Queen of England doesn't exist." "What's England?" Shikamaru whispered to Hinata, who shrugged. "All right then Sasuke, I know an excellent place for you known as Chani Alme," Naruto announced. "Tuju what?" "A mental institution in Earth Country." "Why you bastard," Sasuke shouted. Mental problems were a sore spot, seeing as he had once read his medical files. He had cursed his psychiatrist every name under the moon and a few above it, refusing to return to the man. Sasuke rushed forwards, attempting to punch the boy, however, a hand of wood appeared from the ground and grabbed his arms. "Don't ever touch me, heretic. You and your stupid log," he gulped as the icy feeling reached his crotch, looking down to find his entire lower body encased in ice. "Don't insult the log, infidel." Haku growled in a dangerously cold voice. "How am I an infidel, huh? Curse thee, sacrilegious fire bearers," the log has said in anger as another of its children were mutilated and disrespected. Naruto began to quote, "I damn thee to a life of treacherous deeds and an afterlife neither in hell nor in the forest of life, but betwixt the two, in limbo, house of the damned." Sasuke growled angrily and was about to attempt another attack when the last team walked in, followed by Gecko. Okay then, Jinan. There is a remainder of 12 teams, which is rather impressive. Seeing as that's 36 contestants, which is too much for the last stage, there will be a preliminary match right now. Hinata looked around. It seemed that 6 Konohan teams had passed, including her own team, Team 7, Team 10 and Neji's team. Both the waterfall teams had passed, as had Gaara's team and another sand team. The remaining teams were the sound team and a grass team. We will have team versus team matchups, using a random drawing system. Now follow me. They all walked through a few doors and a couple of corridors, finding themselves in a large arena with balconies for the sidelines. Could everyone please make their way up to the sidelines? They did just that, joining their various sensais as Gecko received a hat full of team names. He shook it a bit and said, okay then. First match, Team Guy versus Team Kubi. Team Guy jumped down, facing the other team. I did not wish to face another team of Konoha, Lee exclaimed with tears. But this shall be a youthful battle. Team Kubi were demolished, leaving the arena unconscious as Gecko began to draw the next team. Team Gaara versus Team Misumi. This is weird, Shikamaru stated. Teams of the same village are being pitted against each other. Team Misumi didn't stand a chance, and they weren't shown as much mercy as Team Guy showed to Team Kubi. They left the arena as cleaned up blood on mops. Team Gaara wins, Gecko stated unnecessarily. Sasuke's team ended up facing a team from grass, and although it took noticeably longer than the other teams, Team 7 won in the end. The sound team faced off against a waterfall team and emerged victorious, while Team 10 effectively beat the other waterfall team, passing to the next round. That left only Naruto's team and the team of a silver-haired Konohan shinobi, Haku, having received a pass due to being ineligible for this round. Begin, Gecko shouted. Team 8 instantly stood back to back as the other Konohan team circled them. Shikamaru whispered something to Naruto, who nodded and made 24 clones to attack their opponents. Watching the resultant fight was enough to give Shikamaru an accurate depiction of the enemy's abilities. One of them had elastic arms and legs, allowing him high maneuverability and agility, so best paired off with Hinata. The other could drain chakra, so Shikamaru was most likely the best response for that. The third was more unknown, but from his chakra levels, Shikamaru could tell he was Jounin level alone. As if the enemy had read his mind, Kabuto began to bark out orders. Yori, take the Hyuga girl. Misumi, attack the Nara, I have the blonde. They each attacked their respective enemies, but unfortunately they couldn't fight effectively. Team 8 didn't stick to a single enemy, rotating as they fought and filling in for each other's weaknesses. Shikamaru ducked Misumi's palm, watching as it was smacked away by Hinata's jab, most likely disabling a Tenketsu point. The Nara boy turned to the left, uppercutting the man's head with a nasty crack. Naruto meanwhile ducked under Kabuto's fist, sweeping his legs from under him. Kabuto was the only real challenge, the other two were quickly disposed of. Team 8 turned to the silver-haired Jinan, who smirked, pushed up his glasses and raised his arm. Team 8 stiffened, poised to dodge an attack, when the boy forfeited. Team 8 win. Gecko announced, before calling all the victorious teams down. The teams all jumped down, surprised at the sudden arrival of none other than the third Hokage. In 30 days, he said, chewing gum. You will be pitted against each other in three-way battles. It was originally intended to be 1 versus 1, but this batch must be exceptionally skilled, seeing as we have so much contestants. Now, the battles will not just be about winning and being promoted, all the most important figures from across the lands will be attending, and so they will move their services to whomever they see has the best ninja. Now, the fights will be as such, Gecko, if you please. The man began to read from a paper. Ahem. Round 1 Kiba vs Neji vs Hinata. Round 2, Uchiha Sasuke vs Tenten vs Aburame Shino. Round 3, Kankuro vs Naruto vs Zaku. Round 4 Haruno Sakura vs Tsuchi Kin vs Sabaku no Gaara. Round 5, Dosu vs Rock Lee vs Haku. Round 6, Nara Shikamaru vs Yamanaka Ino vs Sabaku no Tamari. Akimichi Kuji will receive an automatic bye and will face the winner of round 6. Good luck preparing. The candidates all began to chatter, eyeing up their opponents and making training plans. Naruto began to exit with the rest of Team 8 when he encountered Kankuro on his way out. Say, Kankuro, what is that on your back? Naruto asked, twirling a kunai with his finger. Oh, a puppet. Kankuro jumped as Naruto's face went deathly cold, the kunai in his hand crunching to scrap metal with a sickening crunch. He gulped, that could be his bones. This is the ultimate, heretical defilement of the great holy log. You will pay for this crime upon all things moral in this world. And with that, Naruto left, and everyone could suddenly breath as his killing intent left with him. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX who wasted no time rushing to attack. Watch as my strong, flexible appendages pierce you. One of the Genin said as his arm extended forth. The hand at the end formed a fist as it rushed towards Hinata. I shall not allow you to enter my mouth, Hinata shouted as she dodged. Don't worry Hinata, it is too limp to penetrate you, Naruto shouted as he dodged Kabuto's fist. I am too hard for you to beat, Yori announced, attacking Shikamaru, who was too slow to dodge. Ha! I am on top of you now. Shikamaru punched him viciously and got up as the other Genin fell away. Ha! See who is erect now. He flipped through some hand seals, his shadow extending. If I cannot capture him with a frontal result, he thought, I will have to attack from the rear. Let us increase the pace, Naruto said, attacking his enemy. Kabuto dodged, pushing up his glasses. I shall emerge on top. The silver-haired man shouted, throwing a kunai at the blonde. PFFT, you didn't penetrate me this time. Naruto replied, throwing a chunk of wood. That is too blunt to enter me properly, Kabuto shouted. Naruto growled, flipping through hand seals as a huge dome of wood surrounded him. He rushed forth and began to fight. The crowd outside couldn't see anything, but they could hear grunting sounds, as well as their voices, coming from the wood. Oh my, it's so large. They heard Kabuto shout. You'll rip me in half. That's the plan, Naruto replied in a sarcastic voice. Gecko watched in mild amusement, but was brought out of his reverie by Kurenai. This is disgusting Proctor, you should end this match. I don't quite think they've reached their climax, he replied monotonously. Hinata ducked under the hand, batting it away with a chakra-filled palm. I will not allow you to grope me, filthy pervert. She threw 2 kunai at him, and unfortunately the man couldn't dodge. Ooh, double penetration, Gecko commented. Shikamaru's shadow finally connected with his opponents, having outsmarted the man and capturing him when he couldn't see it. PFF, Shikamaru snorted. I captured you with a mere rear assault. You weren't hard enough for me. Shikamaru and Hinata bound their respective enemies and huddled them to a corner. Wow, I didn't know they were into BDSM, Gecko said, dodging a slap from the nearby Kurenai. Now all attention was on the dome. They heard a ripping sound. That was my favorite shirt. Kabuto whined. Yeah, well, those were my favorite trousers. What the, most of the crowd was thinking. Except Sasuke, of course, whose thoughts were more along the lines of, oh, this is hot. What a big, long shaft you have. Hinata guessed Naruto had taken out his sword again. All the better to pierce you with. I'm coming for you, Kabuto shouted after a few more minutes of grunts and moans of pain coming from the dome. Yes, this fight has been building up in intensity to a glorious climax. Get a room, Kiba shouted. It went on for 10 minutes until finally it ended, the dome being absorbed by the ground. Naruto's entire lower body was encased by wood, seeing as Kabuto had accidentally ripped his trousers off halfway through. Said silver-haired Genin was topless, mostly at least. His shirt had been ripped to shreds, and worst of all was that he was walking oddly since Naruto had cut him on the thigh, however he did forfeit. Teammate wins, Gecko said. What we just did will keep me up for long nights, Kabuto exclaimed. Yes. You must think of a strategy so that I am not on top next time, Naruto replied. Yes, let's do this again sometime. Eventually, a few years down, Team 8 watched the video of their exam. As was Anko's recommendation, they took popcorn.